All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to lie. I've waited all goddamn week for this show, and I'm already mad as hell. So,
we're going to get in trouble
you might as well just go ahead and lower my levels because I've got at least 5 days of pure rage coming off. First off,
let me lower myself first.
Yeah. You might want to lower yourself in the headphones because this is BS. Okay. Now, let me say, first off, welcome to the Mack and Black podcast. I'm Black. Mack is back. Thank God.
Yes. Thank you for holding it down.
Could not have come back at a greater time because I had to wear the colors of my fallen brothers because we have been cheated of greatness. And I am mad. I've been mad since Tuesday when the great Rob Manfred dropped the perennial hammer on the Astros, on Hinch, on the big head-ass GM, not on Corey yet, but Boston said you can take a hike. Carlos Beltran was so guilty, they said he could take a hike. And then here's what's funny. So my black ass had been watching, my boy Ricky has a show called the Pain Train Sports Moms in the middle of the night. And he said, and I quote, that we should be talking about whatever her name is, who's the new coach of the Giants. Like the
I see. Yeah, the full-time, yeah.
Because it was groundbreaking.
That was very groundbreaking.
I said the scandal to her doing that is the equivalent of when Michael Jackson died and Farrah Fawcett at the same time.
You know what? That's a perfect parallel.
It is a perfect parallel. Yeah. I'm sorry Farrah Fawcett died. Yeah. She picked the wrong time to do it.
Let me look up her name so we could give her some props. Go ahead, sorry.
It was the wrong time because the king of pop, the most popular man, happened to quote-unquote die, be killed, whatever conspiracy theory that you want to believe. Okay?
We love conspiracies here, as you guys know.
Without question. But unfortunately to her, she will get very little press today. Because Oso Negro is very upset. And not only am I upset with the Houston Astros cheating monkey asses, but I'm upset with all of my friends, especially Yankee haters, that have the audacity to tell me to either let it go or come up with some stupid, dumb, idiotic ass somehow to legitimize the Yankees being cheated. So first off, to start off this rant, because I refuse to wait for a proper introduction for me to even bring this up, you can really kiss my ass with that nonsense because I have every right as a Yankee fan to be upset that the Houston Astros cheated us out of destiny. Pure point blank.
I'll go even farther. I think every team in the league has the absolute right to be really, really pissed off.
Goddamn right that they do.
And the Yankees, obviously, most of all, because the Yankees were one pitch away. And again, we're going to scrutinize that one pitch a lot on this show because we talked about it before the show.
We will get into
We're going to scrutinize. But first, before we intro, Alyssa Nakin, congratulations on your new job for the Giants. That was awesome.
You should have waited till next week. You should have waited to get hired till next week so you get proper press.
Those news cycles are brutal. They'll just
unfortunately
right through you.
Unfortunately, so I'm sorry that you will get 1 minute of press here on Mack and Black. But if you can wait a week, we'll give you proper press.
Yeah.
But today you're not going to get proper press.
Nope.
The proper press is going to go to all my fellow Yankee brothers that knew that we were destined for greatness, for a team that wasn't even supposed to be in the playoffs, for a team that everyone said was going to be third. The Yankees are rebuilding, and somehow we weren't supposed to beat the Minnesota Twins. Psych on your ass. We weren't supposed to beat the Cleveland Indians. Didi Gregorius took Corey Kluber's overrated Cy Young winning 11 ass deep twice in Game 5. Then we get to the Houston series, okay? We struggle against Verlander. We still took the lead, but we end up losing. Fine. It happens. 2-1 loss. Very next game, same fate. Lost 2-1. Explain to me then how they went to Yankee Stadium and got that ass whooped in games 3, 4, and 5.
And again, I mentioned this before the show. The numbers, the splits, the home and road splits for the Astros, that's just indictment enough.
Bro, they're
that's
night
enough.
and day.
Yeah, that's enough.
They're night and day. But let me tell you what Yankees haters say. I had this question asked to me earlier, which almost pissed me off in the car when I saw it. Well, if you lose 1-0, and if you lose 10-0, if you didn't score any runs, does it matter if they cheated? They had a sizable advantage before the game even started.
Right. Yeah.
So if the Yankees weren't going to be able to hit, we were going to lose regardless because they knew what pitches were coming.
What the Yankees did that night has absolutely nothing to do with the subject. What we're talking about is that the Astros went out of their way to create a system to manipulate the game, every game. We're not just talking, because right now the evidence isn't just they did this a few times here and there.
No.
They are saying that this is a team that has foundationally made a point since, please, this is a team that's made the concerted effort to have a system going to manipulate the game and to tip pitches. Not only tip pitches, because tipping pitches is one thing. We talked about it before the show.
Right.
The sign stealing aspect of the game has been around since the game has been around. So we're talking late 1800s, early 1900s. This is what we're talking about. What we aren't talking about is that teams are making video systems, intricate technology, what we may think is a buzzer system. The buzzer system thing, let's start on that, because there's a lot of, this is going to be a show where we're going to peel the onion back.
Oh, yeah.
Peeling the onion and peeling the onion till you get to that little soft center. But what really hurts me the most is that obviously, they completely ruined the integrity of the game, and I do agree that the asterisk has to be put on. So let me just do a little history lesson. When Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle were going after Babe Ruth's record,
right?
Babe Ruth was the love child of. I think it was Ford Frick was the commissioner at the time,
right?
And everybody loved Babe Ruth. He was what revolutionized baseball. We don't realize that. Obviously Babe Ruth had a really abrupt ending to his career, and then after that, the MLB paid him to travel to spread baseball around. And he actually put baseball in Asia and all. So what I'm saying is they loved him so much. So when Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris were racing throughout the whole season, they had gotten to 60. I think Maris had gotten to 60, and Mantle had gotten hurt.
Right.
And Maris got to 61, and what happened was Ford Frick, the commissioner, said, well, we have to add an asterisk to that because I believe it was 152 games. Babe Ruth only played in 152 games, and Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle got 162. So we have to put an asterisk on that. If we're gonna put asterisk on something like that, you absolutely have to put asterisk on something where you have evidence that a team went out of their way to cheat the whole league. And again, back to the buzzer system. If the buzzer system is true, that to me, you might have to be talking like, okay, we have to ban people from baseball now because that's just too much. Like the technology thing is one thing, but the buzzer system, which again, you shared this plenty throughout the week of Jose Altuve, very specifically holding his jersey in a way that would almost seem as if he's holding something in between or under it, maybe.
Saying, don't rip my
jersey. And then afterwards, Ken Rosenthal, that guy's sharp as a tack. I love Ken Rosenthal. He asked, hey, I saw that you were telling your teammates, don't rip my jersey. What happened? And he was like, I'm shy. Like my wife, she thinks she doesn't want me to do it. Jose Altuve has like thousands of topless photos on the internet and on his Instagram.
Isn't he in one of those ESPN?
He's in a body thing where he's butt naked, and so again, I don't trust that. I don't believe it. I don't know how much legitimacy there is yet, but I hope they investigate and find something out because that looks legitimate to me.
Nah, dude, it's crazy. So let's look at it. First off, I want to go to the aftermath of that because. He's running. First of all, I didn't even know. I guess I didn't even focus on it because I was kind of distraught that he just absolutely moonshot at the slider. Yeah. Okay. But then I happened to be on my Facebook and people were putting up First of all, by the way, guys, share the show.
Please, I was gonna
Please
say.
share the show. Share the show out. We're also taking phone calls, by the way, if you want to call in. The number is 312-869-4117. So if you guys want to call in, we're going to take some calls because this is very important. So share the show if you want to call in. We'll take some phone calls. The phone number does work. Hell right. Thanks to Steve for making that possible.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you.
Because Lord knows that my black ass is still fired up over this nonsense. So we'll get to the slider part in a second. But if you look at the video, all right, what I was saying was I was watching on my Facebook, and I guess Michael Kay and his show had brought up the part where Jose Altuve is vehemently telling his guys, don't rip off my jersey. He's waving his finger saying, don't rip off my jersey. Shakes hands, goes to the dugout, and disappears. Then came back
and said, okay,
and
now let's celebrate.
Now let's celebrate.
If that's not obvious. Like,
if that's not obvious, I don't know what is. And then here's what really is going to piss me off. Well, Nick, it didn't happen. And, they don't have proof, blah, blah, blah. It's right there. If you're too stupid and naive to not think that something about that wasn't right, then you really just hate the Yankees.
Let me put it this way.
Or you're trying to troll the piss me off.
Let me put it this way.
And you're doing a great job of it.
4 people with 3 different organizations have lost their jobs so far. 4 people, 3 different organizations. If you think they did that without any evidence of wrongdoing, you're crazy.
Right. But see, here's the thing why Rob Manfred, first of all, Rob Manfred gets all my respect in the world. Because if this was Bud Selig, this would have been swept dead under the rug. But here's another thing, too. I heard about Congress wants to get into it and have a high. Dude, you guys got bigger fish to fry than worry about what's going on.
Bring Congress in. We need Congress because they don't have enough work to do.
Yeah, nothing's going on in Washington. So just, please.
Focus on the important stuff, Congress.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Like the Astros scandal.
Rob Manfred is clearly doing the job, something that Bud Selig would have clearly swept under the rug. So, no, you don't need to get into it. The man, the best commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred, is dropping every hammer he can. But today I saw on ESPN that they did a poll, and 50% of the fans said, you need to do something with these players. Ooh. And I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? I know in college sports there's a death penalty. Like, you really have to F up. Like, that whole Jerry Sandusky thing. Penn State looked the death penalty right in the mouth, and the NCAA gave them leniency. Very close, big-time leniency. People are like, well, Nick, what do you expect them to do with the Houston Astros? How about a postseason ban? Well, you can't play the season and they sorry asses effing just cheated. You're worried about what? Oh, you can't tell a bunch of grown men they can't make the playoffs. Like hell I can't. If I am Rob Manfred, the king dangling of Major League Baseball right now, you can play the season. You not winning any championships on my watch with your cheating asses. That is not happening. You cheated the Yankees. You cheated the Dodgers twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
Poor Yu Darvish, too. Yu Darvish, too.
Speaking of which, my mom brought up you.
Yeah.
Yu Darvish deserves the biggest apology of everybody.
I feel bad
because everyone kept saying, oh, Yu's tipping his pitches, Yu Darvish sitting in that Dodger uniform like, I'm not tipping a damn thing.
And nobody else has ever said that about him either.
No, never. Not while he was in Texas, not while he was in L.A., not even while he was in Chicago. In Chicago, they just think he sucks.
And one thing is very clear. The Houston Astros knew what he was throwing.
They knew what right he was throwing. Off the top of the bat. They knew what was coming.
If you're saying that he's never tipped pitches before, but this time he did, that's a really tough argument to make. And for those of you saying that, oh, it's too harsh and they've never done something like this before, we've never seen something like this before.
No, we haven't.
We've never, ever seen something. Like, people want to compare this to the Black Sox scandal. The Black Sox scandal is very different.
Yes.
Okay? The Black Sox scandal was the players weren't getting paid enough, and they went to and fixed the World Series to get paid from these bettors, from essentially the mafia. What we're talking about here, or what we were talking, let's just break it down even further. What we were talking about with the Black Sox wasn't really ruining, like, it's not like the Cincinnati Reds were hamstrung by that. They were benefited by that. The Cincinnati Reds that year won the World Series over the Black Sox. But the Cincinnati Reds weren't hamstrung. They weren't cheated because they won the World Series. Now, whether or not you want to say it was legitimate or illegitimate, I watched that documentary. Apparently what happened was the first 4 games, it was very obvious the Black Sox were throwing the World Series.
Right.
And what happened was teams or the players were starting to be unsure whether or not they were going to get paid how much they were told they were going to get paid. So they started playing again after Game 4, and it was too late by then. They had already dug themselves a hole. So, yeah, for those of you who are saying, well, you know, that's unprecedented, we can't do something like that. This type of scandal is unprecedented in baseball. We've never seen a system like this. And I guarantee you, this is really unfortunate what I'm about to say. The Astros aren't the only team that's doing something like this.
No.
Let's put it out there right now. I'm not sure if the White Sox are doing it. I'm not sure if the Yankees are doing it. What I'm saying is what we know right now, what we 100% know, is that the Astros did do it.
Yep.
And that's what we know, okay? So let's not talk hypotheticals. Let's not talk about, well, everyone does it, and once they investigate, then they'll find out. First of all, let me just say this right off the bat. If I'm a team who's doing it, I'm stopping this year, right? I mean, let's just say I'm the White Sox, and I was doing shit like that last year. Now that I saw what happened, I'm probably like, you know what, guys, maybe we don't do that anymore. Maybe let's just do it the old school way. And if we have a guy on second, well, you know, I was telling you about how I have a video of the Cubs about 3 years ago. You know, Fowler, what's his first name?
Who? Oh, Dexter.
Dexter Fowler is on second base, and Javier Baez is batting, and he's sort of tipping his cap in a certain way to show Javier Baez what the pitch is that's coming. Is that cheating? That's one of those things where it's like, that's gaming, right? That's gaming, right? We know that that's gaming. But to have a video system specifically set up and a guy sitting in the bullpen and he's got a video monitor and he's very clear. Apparently it was a banging noise, right? That's what they said it was. If they couldn't get lights or something, some other system going, it was a banging noise on the trash can, which if you go back and listen to the audio, you can clearly back up. You can clearly hear bangs before a breaking pitch is coming and no bangs before a fastball is coming. So clearly, you know, the Astros got caught
what about
red-handed.
the whistle system? They did that against the Dodgers.
Yep.
They did it against the White Sox. The clear whistle system. Mm-hmm. Strong whistle, it's a fastball. Yep. The charge whistle,
exactly.
it was what you call a breaking ball. Now, in the Yankees case of 2019, what happened to Aroldis Chapman, here's why I'm so upset about that. Because it was real crazy. They was getting loud trying to mess up Chapman. And I know for a fact, now that we're talking about it, that there's a buzzer system underneath Jose Altuve's jersey. I'm going to tell you why. How in the hell does that short-ass POS catch up to every one of the 103 fastballs that what's-his-name was throwing? Because he knew the fastball was coming. He knew the slider was coming. Yeah. And then what ends up happening when he hit that bomb? Aroldis Chapman wasn't smiling.
No.
He was thinking, you've got to be effing kidding me. There's no way he knew that slider was coming.
Yeah.
No way.
That smile, because he did put on a little smile. That smile was almost to say, like, I know that motherfucker cheated.
I'm telling you, dude.
It was like, yeah.
You got to be kidding me. So let me put some more rage into this. And I want to put this rage into some of the comments that I got throughout the week. Like, for instance, well, Nick, you shouldn't be such a homer. How about the Dodgers? Why don't you feel sorry for them? Because the Los Angeles Dodgers is not my favorite baseball team. Right. That's why. Let's start off with that.
You're not obligated.
Let me break this down so that I don't have to explain myself on this. Let's say if Mack's married and I'm married, okay? Let's say if we got kids. So you married with a kid, I'm married with a kid, right?
Right.
Let's say if my wife comes to me, let's say you're married to a lady named, I'm just throwing Marianne because the first name.
Let's do Antonina, like you'll do Valentina Shevchenko, I'll do Antonina.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I like where this is going. Okay. So if Valentina comes to me and says, yeah, I was talking to Antonina yesterday and I heard that Mac's son is getting bullied at school, I'm going to be like, damn, man, that's kind of messed up. I'm not saying I'm not mad.
Sure, but that's not my kid.
But it's not my son.
I'm not going to go to the principal
now,
and say,
if Valentina came to me and said, Baby, the Brickenshaw is getting bullied. I'm going to the school. Hands down, fired up. The gates of hell will open. That's how I feel about the Yankees right now. I don't care about the Los Angeles Dodgers. I care about my team.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, this 2020 season should be ring 30, not 28. And for any idiot that thinks that we would have murked the Los Angeles Dodgers in that 2017 World Series, stop smoking crack. Only weed is legal in the state of Illinois.
Thank God.
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
You know, the other thing that really bothers me, too, is Jessica Mendoza, who I typically like. You know who I'm talking about? The Sunday night baseball lady?
Yeah, that big head.
That stupid ass. She
she's
pissed
so
me off.
dumb.
Listen, I like her generally. I like her generally, but what she said was such a fucking cop-out. It's not even funny. She said something along the lines of Mike Fiers, who's a former Astros pitcher, who's now with the Oakland Athletics, is basically the whistleblower of this whole thing. Let me just tell you something. If Mike Fiers hadn't have said anything, this still wouldn't have come out, right? Like, you would have seen this sometime down the line. It didn't. You talked about Trevor Bauer calling it out almost 2 years ago, saying, hey, it's a little weird how pitchers, and by the way, Garrett Cole is one of the guys he talked about, was, hey,
we'll bring that up too.
But again, we'll talk, but he was saying it's weird how pitchers come to Houston and all of a sudden they get an extra three inches of break on their curve. And by the way, not even that, he says it's weird how their swing and miss rate goes up, as if to say, like, players don't exactly know what they're getting anymore with them. And there's clearly a system where they might. He said it was impossible. There's some rumors that they would have like a substance on their finger that maybe allowed them. You know, they've been doing shit like that for a long time, right? Doctoring the baseball, spitballs, tobacco juice, whatever you want to say. But none of that adds 3 inches of break to your breaking ball, right? So this isn't the first time somebody has said something about the Astros. This is an organization that is shady. Remember, they were involved in the remember when there was a breaking news about one of the front office people for St. Louis, for Houston, hacked into St. Louis's prospects. Let me look it up. Let me look it up so that we're right on. But I want to say the Astros got in trouble because they literally had one of their technology guys hack into the network for St. Louis to check out the scouting reports for some of their players. This is clearly a paper trail to evidence that clearly this organization is unsavory. Jeff Lanau, who is the GM, was the architect of this whole team, and he was one of the first guys to get fired. Remember, they fired him and then fired Hinch in succession.
It didn't take that owner 20 minutes to say, hell no. And then here's what kind of blows me a little bit. I'm going to get to the chat room here in a sec. Here's kind of what
Give out the number one more time, too.
The number, if you want to call in, is 312-869-4117 if you want to call in. Here's what blows me. Everyone's like, oh, well, he just used those guys as scapegoats, blah, blah, blah. First of all, these two knew what was going on. They knew what was going on. And the owner's sitting there like, wait a minute. So y'all expect me just to sit here, just let AJ Hinch and Lude out, whatever his name is, to put this black cloud over my organization? Now my 2017 title looks like crack? Hell no. Both y'all get your sorry asses up out of here.
And by the way, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It was the other way around. The Cardinals guy hacked into the Astros system. So that was real, but it was the Cardinals hacking into the Astros.
So big ups to the Houston Astros owner for doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't have to do all this. Remember, he could have said, no, we'll fight this till the end. And remember, there's a lot of appeals. There's a lot of shit that has to happen. He came out and said, there's no way we're going to be able to make this happen. And I think the Mets and the Red Sox followed suit because I think here's what I think. If Lanau got fired but Hinch didn't, I think Cora and Beltran would have been safer.
True.
But what happened was when the Astros fired both of them and they realized the extent of how interwebbed it is to the GM all the way down to the bench coach, and when you know that Alex Cora and Carlos Beltran were both a part of that bench, it's very hard to make a case that they should keep their jobs. I feel bad for Beltran. I'll be honest. Like I think
he may have gotten the worst
rawest end of the deal for sure.
End of the deal, and then that's where I go to the chat room because my brother Brian goes. How dumb do the Mets look for the whole Beltran thing? They don't look dumb though.
Yeah, they didn't know.
Because think about it, the Mets didn't know.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
if anything, they were like, "Hey, come do that with us. Fuck it, we'll see what happens."
And you could very well be right about that.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, but you know what? Now that you look at it, it does seem kind of fishy because Carlos Beltran in his press conference when he was hired said, and I might be wrong, but I could have swore I thought he said something that we're going to change the way we scout, look at pitches, and some other things to how different that we
had a camera or a buzzer system.
Bingo. And like Steven, who's a big Mets fan, and thank you for sharing the show.
Thank you, guys.
He said, he's like, and the Mets don't have to pay him. He stepped away.
Yeah.
And then
Cora too, they mutually parted ways.
Let me give you something about Alex Cora. Have you ever seen the movie Dead Presidents with Lorenz Tate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember? And if you haven't seen the movie at this point, it's your fault because it's been out for like 20-some years.
Yeah. It's a classic.
At the end of the movie, remember, he used to be an Army veteran.
Right.
He went to Vietnam. He killed a lot of people. They gave him life, and they tried to use his Army credentials for him to not get life, and he got it anyway. Can we stop with the whole, Alex Cora has done a lot of great things for Puerto Rico to try and lessen the blow of what he did for baseball? I don't care what he did in Puerto Rico.
Those are two separate conversations.
It's two totally separate conversations.
Yeah.
It's great what you did for Puerto Rico. Save the country. I'm sorry they got earthquakes. You're still a big old POS for cheating. And not only did you cheat, how did you put up 15 runs on the New York Yankees?
Yeah.
Cheater.
It's like
you're a cheater. The Astros are cheaters. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Never mind. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to wish ill will to my own Yankees.
Yeah.
But kudos to Aaron Judge, who I guess supposedly took down this congratulation tweet when what's his name won the MVP. First of all, Altuve should have never won that MVP in the first place.
It was
the only two categories that Jose Altuve that year had better than Aaron Judge was average and strikeouts per 9 innings. That's it. The Yankees weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs that year. But you gave it to that short cheat POS to the monster that's Aaron Judge. I hope Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are sitting there screaming to the gulls right now, saying, I can't wait for this baseball season to come up because we hitting 70 on every bitch-ass team that comes in our way because the Yankees are mad as hell. Mad as hell. And as a fan, I hope we go 162-0. It is unrealistic. But nobody is safe from the wrath of the evil empire in 2020 because you cheated us out of 2 titles. Not just 1, 2. And as a Yankee fan, here's another comment I got. Here's a great one. A Rays fan said, hey, Nick, we got cheated by the Astros too. You don't care about the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay is this close from going back to Montreal where baseball failed in the first place.
They're trying to share Montreal and Tampa Bay. Remember, they're still trying to do that.
You think I give a rat's monkey ass about what the Astros did for Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
But you should be mad they got cheated because how did Houston win all 3 games in Tampa and they made them look like dog crap in the 3 games in Houston, but Tampa made them look inferior in Tampa.
Yeah, that's...
Come on, man.
The road to
How am I the
home
only
splits.
one that's outraged about this?
Yeah.
And please, don't come at me with this, well, my Cardinals lost to the Nationals. No one accused the Washington Nationals of cheating. Do not bring irrelevant comments to my page. I will not let this go until the Yankees hoist 28 in October of 2020. I'm coming for all throats.
Yes, sir.
Nobody is safe.
I don't think,
Bastards.
I don't think people realize that this is all, this is all the frustration of just a fan. and somebody who's a super fan at that. But just imagine how the players got to feel right now.
Oh, bro, take me times 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take me times 2.
Yeah, at least. Because
Think about everyone that's in that Yankees locker room or at least sitting at home that was on that team.
Yeah.
Judge, Gardner, I think Hicks made it on his way on that team too. Gary Sanchez, Luis Severino. Think of the pitchers that I'd be pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
Louis, Masahiro Tanaka's thinking like, hold on, I know y'all ain't hitting my split finger like this. How you know it was coming? Because they was cheating.
And I'll be honest with you,
cheaters.
When Houston came to Chicago this year, I'll look this up just to make sure I was right. When they came to Chicago to play the White Sox played them really tough. Like, I think they won 2 out of 3 or something like that. And then when we went to Houston, we were done. And by the way, when we went to Houston is one of the clips that's circulating, which is McCann going out to, I believe it was Aaron Bummer, after he had realized they are tipping.
They are whistling between pitches to let them know what is coming.
And there's not just one video of this. There's tons of videos of catchers coming out and saying, oops, yeah, they clearly know our pitches, so let's change the signs up. And here's the thing, changing signs up doesn't do much all the time because, again, if you have a video system,
they can figure it out.
They'll just figure it out by next inning. So that's the worst, most perverted part about this is the Astros are leaning on the excuse of everyone does it.
And so are other fans.
And that's terrible. And that's terrible.
Your team just got cheated.
And
the best excuse you got for me is, well, everybody does it. That don't make it. Speaking of which, here's another one for Yankee haters. Well, the Yankees got some nerve to talk about cheating when you hired a steroid. Let me go ahead and stop you right there. I am going to say this for the last time. Okay, and I hope it's for the last time. I know it's not going to be. It's going to be for the last time. I'm gonna tell you a little story. When I was younger, when all this steroid BS came along, right? I always said the number one hardest thing they say to do in sports is hit a baseball. They said it's the number one hardest thing to do, right? Now, with that being said, you can take all the steroids in the world all you want to. If your dumbass can't hit a baseball, no matter how juiced you are, it's not gonna matter, right?
What did Alex Wood from the Dodgers say? He said, I would rather have somebody that took steroids go against me than to have somebody who knew every pitch that I was going to throw to him.
Thank you.
That you still have to hit my pitch. Even if you do, there are cases where a steroid maybe would have flown out, but instead he hit a home run, but he didn't know what pitch it was coming. You know what I'm saying? He still had to guess that the fastball's coming inside. He still had to guess the slider was going to be on the inside part of the plate. Like, there's still skill that has to be involved. But when you're taking out the equation, or taking something out of the equation as crucial as, hey, one of the biggest parts about baseball in general is that you don't know if I'm going to throw you something fast or slow. That's what pitching is. Pitching 101 is I'm only good because you don't know if I'm going to throw you 95 this pitch or if I'm going to throw you that 75. So when you know, it's so much easier. And it's hard for us, guys like us, to explain, but from what players have said, it's way, way easier when you know, oh, shit, I don't have to worry about a fastball on this one. I'm just going to track this because I know it's coming in at 79, 85, whatever.
Thank you.
So steroids is completely – listen, don't get me wrong. We're not making – I don't know about you. I don't really have that strong opinion about steroid use. I think steroid users still should get into the Hall of Fame. I think maybe – Bonds for sure. I mean, come
Sosa,
on. Can you really say –
allegedly.
Can you really say the guy who has the most home runs of anyone – of all time doesn't deserve to go into the Hall? Like, to me, that's just that's nuts.
And let me say this about Bonds too. Let's stop acting like Barry Bonds all of a sudden went from Pittsburgh to San Francisco and just learned how to hit home runs.
No, he was good in Pittsburgh.
He was banging them out in Pittsburgh. He was banging them out in San Francisco. And let's not forget he only had one legit year where he hit over 50 home runs. That's the year he hit 73.
That's right. Other than that, it was like just constant 40s.
Just like 40 and 50s because he led the league in walks because he was the most feared hitter in baseball.
Yeah.
But you can take all the steroids in the world all you want. If your dumbass can't hit a ball, you can't hit a ball. And all my friends is like, oh, Nick, you're stupid, blah, blah, blah. You don't, like they usually do on my Facebook. You're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Then what ended up happening was I went to a friend's house and we were all eating lunch and we were talking to his dad. And one of the guys brought up the point. And I've never talked to this guy's dad before. Never. And he talked to him. And he was like, hey, so what you think about steroids in baseball? And the guy was like, I don't understand why everyone's so uptight about them. Because if you can't hit a baseball, which is the hardest thing in the world, you can't do it.
Let's just put it this way.
Now everybody respects the opinion.
Right.
When my black ass said it, I'm the idiot. Yeah. Here goes a guy right here that just said the same thing. I ain't never seen this man a day in my life. Oh, now you want to listen? Get your dumb ass up out of here.
You still have to, like me and you, could take all the steroids we want. We could literally spend the next 5 years making our body as flawless and as strong as possible. We'll still step into a batting cage and not be able to hit anything because we don't know how to hit baseball. So again, that's part of the problem is people keep there's so much capping going on for the Astros, even from people who should be pissed, like people who should be legitimately pissed. Like, me, I don't have to be pissed about this because, I wasn't in the ALCS this year. I didn't have to watch my team get eliminated, because of this type of situation. So you guys have to understand that I'm not mellow about this. I'm not cool with this. The reason why this is so much of a big thing for guys like Nick is that their team was right there, and you stole that from them, and and the worst part is the team was right there, and you were cheating the whole series. You know what I'm saying? Like that's almost even worse. Like. You were cheating the whole time, and I almost beat you. You know what I'm saying? Like you take all the equations you want. Like, oh, the Yankees didn't hit enough in that series, and yada yada yada. They were still right there. They were there. So Nick has every right to be mad. I think people should be more mad about this. I think there's too many excuses floating around right now that people are obsessed with. One thing that I will say is I posted this on your wall. Alex Cora, after the London series this year, he came out into the press conference and he made a gesture that was a little bit weird. So I think that was the year that Beltran retired. The Yankees brought him on he wasn't even on the bench. He was just a special advisor to the hitting part of coaching. So he wasn't on the bench. Was he on the bench that year, by the way?
Who's that?
Beltran. Was he on the Yankees bench last year?
He was some quote-unquote special advisor.
So he wasn't in the dugout. He was in the front office. So Alex Cora went out of his way to say, yeah, they got Carlos Beltran. And he kind of winked and looked into the camera. And a lot of people are maybe thinking that what he's saying is that Beltran knows what Alex Cora does. There's different ways to take that. Some people look at that and say that Cora is clearly saying that Beltran is helping the Yankees cheat. I also see that as him saying, shit, Beltran knows what I do. He knows my system, so I wasn't able to do what I want. I see that as a guy who clearly cheated or is cheating, referring to another guy who helped him cheat and knows he cheats. And that, this is all stuff that sort of gets floated out onto Twitter, and it's easy to take out of context too, so I don't want to read too much into that, but it's hard not to. That's another thing about this is peeling the onion back. There's so many layers to this, and one of the layers is that it's not done. This isn't close to being resolved. We do have a lot more investigating to do, and it's not just under the Astros. So shit's gonna hit the fan over the next. And let me just say this: if you're a team that was doing it in the past, you're not doing it this year.
No.
Let's just put it that way.
And think about it like this. Remember, they fined both Red Sox and Yankees.
Because of the whole texting scandal and that stuff. Yeah.
So after that, they're like, nah, I'm not trying to get in too much trouble after that. And they was done with it.
Sure.
But the Astros kept doing it. And it cost us again this year.
Yeah.
But let me say something because I see a comment in the chat. Steven says, just look at his rookie card. He just blew up like a balloon, hashtag roid use, referring to Barry Bonds. Dude,
yeah, but he was still hitting, and he was fast and a good fielder, and he was a good baseball player.
And let me ask you a question. Is Giannis Antetokounmpo on any type of juice? Because he shows hell wasn't as big then as he is right now. No, it's called working out, bro. You can still work out. So where's the roid use? Barry Bonds was hitting 360-foot bombs when he was in Pittsburgh. He went to San Francisco. They went up to 400. Guess what? It's still a home run in, 28 out of 30 fields?
And
where's the roid use?
And let me just say this: Bonds' body didn't change until he was older.
Yes.
Like, if you look at older players, they tend to bulk up, and especially guys who are obsessed with the gym. Now, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind, I won't speak for Nick, that Barry Bonds did do steroids, because he was adapting to a culture that he realized when he had, I forgot who it was, one of his teammates came to him and said, everyone's juicing, right? Like, basically telling him, like,
could have possibly been Jeff Kent.
I was gonna say, I think it might have been Jeff Kent, or somebody came to him and after he came from the Pirates and said, listen, everyone's doing this shit, just it'll make you strong. So yeah, Bonds, I do believe, did steroids. His head did get bigger towards the end of his career. He certainly has all the characteristics of doing steroids, but it's not as if he went, like, was this scrawny dude in Pittsburgh in the first year in San Francisco. He's like Popeye. Like, no, this was clearly a guy who I think did steroids. But look at Alex Rodriguez too. Alex Rodriguez was sort of this lanky, he didn't have much meat on his bones when he was in Texas, and then next thing you know, when he makes a transition to the Yankees, he was bigger, but they said that he didn't start doing steroids until 2 or 3 years after he got bigger.
Yeah.
So, and that's when he was doing the gummies and shit like that in the dugout. So it's hard to have the eye test for steroids. But what the point still remains. You can do as much steroids as you want until you're blue in the face. If you can't hit a fastball, you can't hit a fastball.
You can't hit a fastball. All the steroids in the world is not going to help you catch that fastball.
Nope.
Not even a little bit. And second off, to your response of what I think, no failed drug tests, no use. That's what I'm on.
No, you gotta have evidence,
because
man.
You see what I'm saying? So everyone can assume that Sammy Sosa was on juice until I see a failed drug test. I'm not assuming anything. You know what I know? Facts is the only guy in Major League Baseball history to hit back-to-back 60 home run seasons.
Yep.
The only man in Major League Baseball history to make the Cubs relevant for how many years? The man has over 600 home runs. So you can make fun of Sammy Sosa for going out here looking like Neapolitan ice cream. But he is still a Hall of Famer no matter how you try to cut it. A former MVP.
I think
this man hit 366 home runs and had 150 plus RBIs. That is Hall of Fame worthy no matter how you try to cut it.
Yeah, I agree.
Easily.
I agree.
But I'm only yelling about Sammy because he got ran out of Chicago the most bogus way you could think of. Everyone getting on Sammy Sosa because the man took a foul ball off his toe. Okay, yeah, there's the cork bat.
The cork bat too.
But he took a foul ball off his toe, his big toe,
That's right.
driving foot, and he had to miss 2 weeks. And it was like, oh, what a wuss. You try hitting the ball off with just 1 foot. Yeah. See how that works out for you.
Even on steroids. Even
if you on juice or not.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, I don't understand it, man.
Even after this show, I'm still going to be pissed because we got robbed royally in front of everyone's face. And then, and here's the thing. Major League Baseball said that they don't think that, what's his name, Altuve had that buzzer on his body or whatever.
But that's just because they can't prove, right? So I want to clear something up. Major League Baseball is not saying that he 100% didn't do it. What they're saying is that they want to keep the legitimacy of the report, and they're only reporting what they can prove. So again, they're not saying that we've determined that he didn't do it. No, what they're saying is we don't have enough evidence to say he did, so we can't say he did. So he didn't. You know what I'm saying? So let's just be clear about what this is. It's an investigation similar to, again, the steroids era stuff and some of the other stuff. It's about to keep the legitimacy of the investigation. You can't just nitpick and say, well, we don't have enough proof on this, but hey, he did have buzzers, but we have 100% proof on this. No, you're not going to ruin your whole investigation over saying you're 100% sure they used a buzzer when you're not 100% sure. That's how investigations work. So I just want to clear that up.
Yeah.
We don't know that he didn't use the buzzer, but if we're using common sense and you look at the video and you start to read between the lines, it starts to become pretty obvious. Again, the way I did it before the show, but the way he did it was a very specific way, as if to grab almost a cord under as he's walking or running through the bases. Now, when he feels like he's cleared the danger zone, he runs into the dugout. He goes out of view for us, and next thing you know, he's back out on the field, and the cameras are back on him, and he's celebrating with everyone. So, to me...
The way you should have when you hit the home run with your cheating ass.
Yeah. So
Cheater!
I can't, no.
And hold on, let me get into another topic. It's still baseball-wise because my boy Steven asked me earlier to bring this up, and I need to do it now because I'm still fired up because we still got more to talk about with this baseball stuff before we get into other sports because McGregor's, in my opinion, overrated ass is going against Cowboy Cerrone. I don't know how that's going to go. But Steven and I are in the same baseball group. There's a guy in the group, he asked me not to mention his name, but he knows what I'm talking about, who said, and I quote, "I will never talk baseball again if this guy is not elected to the Hall of Fame," referring to Thurman Munson.
Ooh.
Thurman Munson didn't get elected to the Ball Hall of Fame, and this guy steady posted baseball posts in this group. So, and every time he does, Steven gets on his ass. So one day I swear to God, I went right into Steven's DM. I was like, dude, why do you keep getting, I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I was like, why do you keep getting on him? And he said, because he said he will never post.
Yeah, stick to your
Don't
word.
say nothing if you ain't gonna stick to it.
Yep.
So stick to it. Don't post nothing, bruh.
No more sports talk for you, sir.
It's no more. We ain't taking you seriously no more.
Was
So if you claim you a Yankee fan, as far as I'm concerned, you ain't nothing. Thurman ain't make it, you ain't talking.
What's
Stick
this guy's
to the
obsession
game.
with Thurman Munson?
He's
though?
a Yankees fan.
Oh, he's a Yankees fan. Okay, Thurman Munson did have a good career. What's the name of that cowboy? Did you see that video of that cowboy who never got the call for the Hall of Fame? Let me look it up because it was so heartbreaking. Like, you know, here's the thing. It was a Dallas Cowboy.
Oh, Dallas Cowboy. Okay.
Former Dallas Cowboy player. Hall of Fame. He had a party because he thought like this is finally the year. Yeah, it was because he was on the All Decade. Yeah. It was Drew Pearson.
Okay.
He got emotional because it's been the 30th year he's been on the ballot, and they still haven't voted him in. And he's one of the only guys I think that's on the All-Decade team that hasn't made it in. And you just start to feel bad for these former players, like especially like. You know, when you have something like this happening in baseball, you can't help but feel for some of these players and what they're thinking this year. And by the way, baseball's going to change this year. Not to say the game is going to change, but there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to change their operations and the way they do things.
Facts.
Signs are going to be different now. I guarantee you that this year we're going to see some variants of signs, meaning it's not just going to be the finger signs anymore. You're going to have to almost go to the bench coach or you know, remember the days when the catcher would look into the dugout after every pitch? This doesn't happen very much anymore because you expect your catcher to be a game manager. But I'm sure you remember back in the day, you would call the pitch. So you would look into the dugout. The manager, the pitching coach, the bench coach, whoever would give you the signs for the pitch, and then you would give it to the pitcher. That doesn't happen very much anymore because catchers are being trusted to manage games.
Right.
But what I'm saying is like we might have to go back to a system similar to that because as of right now, you have to. Teams are going to be on their best behavior this year, but does that mean that they're going to stop trying to, you know? I guess steal signs. I don't like the term steal signs.
Right.
Because steal signs makes it seem like as if I was hiding it in my pocket and you came and you took it. A sign is out in the open, right? It's the same way that in the NFL, you know, you have 1,000 different ways to call your read before the play. Because Blue 42 or whatever the hell, Omaha, you know what Omaha means by reading or by watching tape. So you have to constantly come with these different variances of it, and baseball is going to have to do the same because you can't just expect people not to try and steal signs. It's a part of the game.
Yeah, Steven brings up bullpen pitchers got to pitch to 3 batters before.
That's right. There's also those changes. Yeah,
dude.
And then there's an extra roster spot too.
I also read. Oh, first off, let me give a shout out to Eric Carbonneau, who hit me in the DMs on like Wednesday, and his exact quote was like, "Dude, I've never seen you so upset over anything in sports, dude. I don't play when it comes to the Yankees and the championships. I don't play games. If I had bread like the Steinbrenners do." And I was somehow part owner of the Yankees, I would be on every outlet that would let me speak. And I would be cussing somebody out.
Yeah.
I would be. I don't play games, dude. See, that's the one thing. See, people hate Yankees fans because we're so pompous and we could be a-holes and all that other stuff. There's not a lot of lie to that. Some Yankee fans can be. No. Some Yankee fans can be complete douchebags. I'm not going to lie about that. But the one thing that we do expect is winning. Okay? There's one thing when you lost fair and square. There's another thing when in 2 potential championship years, 17 and 19, we got cheated.
Yeah.
Pure point blank. And for everyone that's saying, well, Nick, they're saying in 17 it was just the World Series. Don't be stupid and naive. How did the Yankees dominate the Houston Astros in 3 straight games at Yankee Stadium?
Yeah.
How? If they would have beaten us one of them times, I'd be like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. And then on top of that, you're not going to tell me nothing that they didn't cheat in game 2 when the Yankees were dominating that entire game till all of a sudden in the 8th inning, the Astros found a way to come back. Yeah, that's not on Aaron Boone making a bonehead move. That was y'all finally like, okay, no, we got to get back in this game. We can't go down 2-0 to get into New York. Boom, they came back and won that baseball game. Then you can't say, oh, man, we can't go into game 7 because maybe the Yankees figure out Garrett Cole because why, what happened? Oh, maybe did the Nationals figure out the great Garrett Cole in game 7 of the World Series? What do? Boom, you tell Jose Altuve, who's just seeing nothing but fastballs, that the slider is coming. Because Aroldis Chapman knows that in previous games before he threw that slider that everyone would look at it because they all sat on the heater. Jose Altuve is not that smart. No. He's not. I'm sorry. He's not. And Jose Altuve, as far as I'm concerned, is a cheater.
And one of the only ways, they tell you, one of the only ways that you can hit like pitches that fast is if you know it's coming. Or
dude.
If you're guessing it's coming, let's put it this way, right? There's nobody that goes up against Aroldis Chapman and hits a fastball against him that isn't going in looking for a fastball. You know what I'm saying? So that's the big issue with this is that you're giving such an advantage to hitters by letting them know what the pitch is that's coming, and whatever happens, I don't even care, honestly, Nick. I don't care what happens in the previous games. I care how the Yankees hit. I don't even care how the Astros hit. All I need to know is that, yes, this team did clearly cheat during this game, and everything else is off the table. You don't have to tell me anything else. I don't need to hear about what Aaron Judge did or Giancarlo Stanton it doesn't really matter, because what we're talking about here is one team has a significant advantage over the other team, and they did that artificially. And that's it. That's really the end of the conversation.
Thank you. So now that goes into discussion number trace.
Yes, sir.
Garrett Cole.
Oh.
Now.
Okay.
I was approached about this.
He was quick to leave, too, huh?
Point A. Let's go back to the Altuve cheated home run. If you watch that whole video, that clip that's out there, take a look at how Garrett Cole was acting when they won that game. He seemed like it was like, okay, I'm happy we went,
but at what cost?
But damn, I don't like the way we got there though. But okay, I guess I'll shake everybody's hand. The minute they lost that game 7 to Washington, he said, and I quote, "I am no longer employed by the Houston Astros." He wanted out.
And let's be honest, we don't see that a ton.
We don't.
Like, especially with teams especially if you're a free agent and you just lost a playoff game, it clearly means you're on a successful team. What player doesn't want to come back to a successful team, right?
Exactly.
So nobody ever after the game says, I'm no longer a part of this organization. They say, yeah, we'll see how things go. I'm gonna talk to them. But even if you're talking about I want to test free agency, you're still saying, yeah, the Astros will be in the mix and we'll talk about. But he clearly made a point to say, I'm no longer employed by them. And by the way, I'm a free agent and y'all can call me. Basically saying that's like you and your girlfriend breaking up on your 1 year anniversary, and she posts on Facebook like 15 minutes later, like, by the way, I'm no longer with this guy anymore. So if any of you were,
the
just
DMs
wondering,
is wide open, guys.
And it's like, damn, we just had a whole year together. Like, you can't give me a month of buffer time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to go on Facebook 5 minutes after we left the restaurant. So yeah, I agree. That was really fishy when he was like, clearly like, yeah, I'm not into this, and I'm no longer a part of this organization.
Steven's like, MLB should take all their record breakers away. Dude, look,
that's a stickier conversation.
Yeah,
though,
I'm not in no way, shape, or form. And that's another thing too. I hate when people are like, Nick, what do you want them to do? Strip their titles? That's not what I said. I never said for them to strip the titles. Yeah. What I'm saying is, if the game was natural like it should have been, we should have beaten their ass in Game 6, and we should have played the Dodgers and beat their ass in 6 games, and we would have been for World Series number 28. And even though Joe Girardi probably would have been fired because that's how everyone was talking, it would have been me sticking it to everybody that hates the New York Yankees. And then coming into 2019 with a team that couldn't stay healthy to save a day in their life, and this team still won over 100 games and still finished with the second best record in the American League after DJ LeMahieu made the biggest play of the Yankee season by hitting a 2-run home run for that game to even go into the bottom of the ninth like he did. Aroldis Chapman should have been an easy 1, 2, 3. But no, because Altuve's short, cheating, bastard ass had a buzzer underneath him. He knew every fastball coming, and he knew that slider was coming. Yeah. You can kiss my ass with that nonsense. And all Yankee haters that have the audacity to feel so sorry for the Dodgers, but you don't feel no sympathy for us, you can kiss my ass as well. I'm showing no sympathy in 2020. Everybody's a marked team. If you stand in the way of the empire, you are getting blasted. Giancarlo, 70 home runs. Aaron Judge, 70 home runs. And I want nothing but 10-run wins and stolen bases left and right. There is no mercy in 2020.
It's going to be really interesting when the Yankees go to Houston for the first time this year, what that's going to look like. Hopefully the Yankees are going to be looking out for revenge. I know this is a different sport, but remember when USC got busted for the thing by the NCAA? They got a 2-year ban from the postseason.
Who's that, USC?
USC,
yeah.
Which at the time was the BCS. That seemed excessive for a college team. I thought it sounded excessive only because they weren't getting paid, and it was kind of like one of those things where it's like you're almost taking notoriety and stuff and experiences from these kids who play for free. But if they can do it over something as shitty and as splitting hairs as recruiting stuff, what can we do? My question is this: when people say, "Well, we should do this or we should do that," what is fair?
Right.
What is fair at this point? We don't know. We don't know what fair is, because if you ask me what fair is, I think you should have an asterisk on that championship every time it's mentioned.
Facts.
That's just my opinion. But at the same time, there's other people who think fair is what they've got. A lot of people think what they got was fair. I don't. I think $5 million is, I know that's the most that's ever been fined to a team, but we've never seen something of this gravity. So when you give a $1 billion organization a $5 million fine, that's like giving me a $10 parking ticket. It's an inconvenience at the worst. So to me, and then obviously 2 guys losing their job, but those guys are scapegoats at the end of the day. Houston gets to sort of go, all right, we got rid of them. Are we good now? All right, cool. All right, we're just going to move on now. Spring training, and we're going to hire it. But
probably Dusty Baker.
I was going to say Dusty, and Dusty's real popular nowadays. The Mets are going to talk to him, and so lots of Tommy Johns coming for those bullpen arms.
Man, dude, I'm telling you, I cannot let this go. I cannot let this go until we're hoisting 28. I can't. Alfred said 2017 champions, you are not firing Girardi. That's not true. That's not true. Because if you would have listened to all that, because a lot of people were wondering.
They were saying even if they won, he would have been.
He was going to be gone.
Yeah.
even if he won the championship,
it's not like they missed the playoffs. It's not like they missed the playoffs, so they still fired him.
They just wanted a new voice in there, and that and no matter, because think about it, they weren't thinking that the Yankees were even going to make the playoffs, and they did, and they weren't thinking that the Yankees were going to, because he damn near flubbed Game 2 in that series against the against the Indians, and they were like, well, damn. Joe's going to be out. And Joe Girardi was even emotional and admitted he flubbed.
Yeah.
I think he was supposed to take out Chad Green, and he didn't. Chad Green ended up giving a grand slam to Lindor that tied the game, and later on, Jay Bruce hit a 2-run home run. He admitted and cried and thought he jagged. But what did the Yankees do in Brazilian fashion? Masahiro Tanaka shut him out in Game 3. They beat him in Game 4. And Didi beat the overrated Cy Young that is Corey Kluber in Game 5. And then they came to Houston. Yankees have no chance. Yankees have no chance. And I'm pretty sure Hal Steinbrenner was like, you know what? Damn, I'm so sick of this joke. We lost 2-1 because the Astros cheated. Then we lost 2-1 again because the Astros cheated. But you can't cheat in our house, and we whooped your ass 3-4-5.
Mm-hmm.
On house money, we beat your ass 3, Game 4, and Game 5. And you cheated because you knew we had all the momentum coming into Houston. And all of a sudden, Justin Verlander, Mr. I was dead in Detroit. Now I've got the fountain of youth in Houston, cheated. So now that has to get to be about Garrett Cole. And the question I was asked was, are you accepting of him being on the Yankees? God dang right, I'm accepted of him being on the Yankees. There's like, well, you should stop complaining because he had a part of it. No, he didn't. The only people that cheated the New York Yankees in there was anyone that was batting. The Yankees, how's Garrett Cole going to cheat? My evidence is how he left. My evidence is the video, and my evidence is he was quick to say, I'm out of Houston.
Yeah, and I think Mark in the chat said, Cole said he wanted to get paid, but he could have got paid by Houston. That wasn't out of the question.
Houston wasn't even in the mix.
And quite frankly, people forget there's no salary cap in baseball. Like, Houston is a very successful organization. They could have went under, or they could have went through the luxury tax if they had to bring back one of their best players from last year overall, and obviously their best pitcher, or one of their best pitchers, because Verlander is so good. But again, it wasn't this thing where Cole was like, yeah, they can't pay me. They could have paid him. He just didn't want to stay. And by the way, he was talking this shit in July. Remember?
Yes.
This wasn't like, after the postseason. No, he was saying in July, I don't know about the Astros. And we were talking about it in some of our shows. We're like, there's no way he's coming back the way he's talking. There's no way. So, we don't want to beat a dead horse here, but at the same time, I think this does deserve the sort of energy we're giving it here, because this is the type of shit that ruins sports, man.
Yes.
We have to be very careful about what we allow and what we don't allow. And, I've had some playful back and forth with Cubs fans this week about Jack McDowell, former White Sox pitcher, saying that Tony La Russa did the same thing for the White Sox back in the 80s. First of all, people are saying that as if he was throwing the White Sox under the bus. No, he was throwing Tony La Russa under the bus. He doesn't like Tony La Russa, and from what I read, nobody likes Tony La Russa in the league. It seems like nobody likes the guy.
Except for baseball itself.
Yeah, and St. Louis. That's even the White Sox. He was a coach in Oakland. He was a coach in Chicago. He was a coach in some. But St. Louis seems to be the only city that really fucks with him. And at the same time, that Jack McDowell quote, he was saying clearly saying this dude has a history of cheating because he went to Oakland and got those boys juiced up, Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire right after that. Hawk Harrelson fired Tony La Russa. He didn't like Tony La Russa. So I'm not saying that, because that's why I wanted to say right before we started this, there's probably more teams that were doing this. I'm not sure who. I'm not even sure that it wasn't every team. What I'm saying, though, is that doesn't take away from what we're talking about. We're talking about now that the MLB has come out with concrete evidence that the Houston Astros have cheated and have done so for years. And that is a ginormous thing that I think, again, will stop the... one thing that I don't necessarily agree with what I think is a light not more of a slap on the wrist than a punishment. But what I do say is that it sure as hell is going to teach the league that nobody's going to do this next year. And you better, and you know what? Even if people do it, they better keep it super tight. It better go back to what we were talking about. Fingers on the helmet. Here and there camaraderie. If you got a guy on second, that's fine. Keep gaming. I don't want to take gaming out of baseball.
Right.
I think that, as stupid as this sounds, the cork bat thing and some of these things, baseball has been trying to cheat to get better since
pine tar,
George Brett. Remember the George Brett situation with too much pine tar on the bat, and by the way, Walter Johnson apparently, who they thought was one of the best pitchers of all time, and he's still there, apparently cheated every game and was doctoring the baseball. And it used to be. Remember, now they take the baseball out of play if it hits the dirt. It used to be that pitchers hated getting brand new balls, and they would purposely scuff them, and they would have razors in their glove, and they would get the ball against the razor to make sure to have a little bit of traction so they could throw their sinker better. So cheating is a part of sports, but the reason why we have things like this happen is because now we can substantiate it and say they've investigated, and we know for a fact that the Houston Astros are cheaters, and it's hard to deny.
Let me bring this up because his name keeps getting brought up. P. Rose.
Okay.
Let me say something about P. Rose.
Everyone,
Charlie Hustle
Charlie
himself.
Hustle, sorry.
Everyone keeps trying to bring his name up, trying to show the sympathy for Pete Rose, I might be one of the 5% that shows no sympathy for Pete Rose, and I'm going to tell you why. Had Pete Rose just come out when all of this started
and admitted
he had cheated and gambled on baseball, I easily could have forgiven him for it and been like,
the problem was he lied for so long and was defiant for so long.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you. Everyone keeps saying, oh, well, this is worse than what he did. Technically, according to the letter of the law, it's really not.
Yeah.
It's really not. This man supposedly cheated and affected the outcomes of the games
while he was managing and
playing as a baseball player. You cannot do that. Yes, I respect the fact that Pete Rose is the all-time hits leader. I respect the fact that that might be one of them records that no one's ever going to touch.
Yeah.
But he did something that gave him the ban for life. And guess what, Pete? Till the day you die, you will wear the ban for life. You can't get out of it, homie. No. And here's what bugged me to death. That's why I can't stand Bud Selig. Because Bud Selig came out and said, if you admit to this, maybe we'll let you in. And then all of a sudden on 2020 or ABC or whatever stupid news outlet is out there on a special, now you want to go and tell them on the mountain what you did. No, you're still a piece of crap. You are still a piece of crap, so I don't want to hear your monkey-ass opinion. I don't care if you think it's worse than what you did. I really don't.
He had a homecoming tour when Fox hired him, and everybody sort of came back and maybe we do like Pete now. He's nice, and him and Frank Thomas are hilarious together. And at some point, it's just to me, you can't bring up Pete Rose in a conversation like this. It's apples and oranges, in my opinion. It really
is.
It's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say that what Pete Rose did was worse or better because that's very subjective, right? Everyone. There's some people who think that what the Astros did was one of the worst things that's ever happened in sports.
Yes.
Even going back to, some of the allegations that were there in football when it came to, people throwing, games occasionally earlier in their career. One thing that I think is very, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think one thing that is very lost in this conversation is that, you play. One of the big things about sports is competition on the same level playing field, right?
Right.
So if you're playing on I remember playing even pickup football, and when you play pickup football, on a shitty field. Well, we both play on that field, right? It doesn't matter we're playing on a shitty field because I'm playing and I have to run through that field too, and so do you. So that's what competition and what sports is let's put everyone on the same playing field and now let's see who's better. And what you're seeing and what the investigation proved is that the Houston Astros ruined the playing field and they ruined the competition. And is it going to ruin baseball? No. There's a lot of people saying baseball's done. Nobody's going to take it serious anymore. Get out of here, dude.
You're looking at two guys. One guy whose team is on the come up, and one guy who I know is going to win the World Series in 2020.
And there's going to be
the only team that I'm taking the biggest. And here, I can't believe I'm finna say this. The Red Sox right now mean nothing to me.
Right.
The Mets right now mean nothing to me. The Tampa Bay Rays, even though they're in our division, and they're probably the better of the three teams I'm finna mention, mean nothing to me. The only team that I care about that could take the biggest deuce in baseball is the Houston Astros. If them jackasses came out there and won 70 games, I will laugh at every Astro fan in their face and say, well, you can't cheat your way to 100 games because your team sucks naturally.
That's going to be really interesting this year. Let's see how the Astros do. Like, if that's not an indictment on itself, we know they're not going to be able to cheat this year, right? Okay, let's see how you guys do. Because that's going to be an interesting conversation to have.
Bruh, I swear to God. Hey, look, Dave Chappelle made a joke one day when he was talking about, remember when Kobe Bryant got in trouble in Denver?
Yeah, Denver, yeah.
And he was like, man, if he was cracking on the court.
Play for your freedom. Play for your freedom.
Houston Astros in that same boat if you want to be real about it.
Yeah.
Because let the Astros come out here and miss the playoffs. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I think the A's are really good. And I think the Angels, if they can figure out pitching, can be really good. Let Houston finish third and finish under 90 wins.
But also,
they're going to get the biggest deuce taken on them ever.
You and I, throughout the show, because we're going to be doing this show, throughout the season, I'm going to be tracking George Springer stats.
Yes.
Jose Altuve stats.
Yep. Alex Bregman
stats.
Carlos Correa, if he's still there.
What's the name of their amazing Jordan Alvarez? Yep. I'd love to see Jordan Alvarez because we know last year he was the Rookie of the Year and one of the better players in the league, period. We've never heard of this guy before this. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jordan Alvarez was not, it's not like he was this, Luis Robert or Eloy Jimenez. They thought he was going to be good, but no one saw this guy coming to be this good. All of a sudden, he's the AL Rookie of the Year. Let's see how Jordan Alvarez does this year. So, yeah, I'll be tracking individual performance this year because, man, it's just, it puts a bad taste in your mouth, and I can't wait to play the Astros this year as well.
I got a couple of comments. Christopher Brown said, with regards to Rose, the only way he gets into the Hall of Fame, even if they're open to putting him in the Hall of Fame after the Astros disgrace, the only way he gets in is after he's dead. Manfred will not put him in as long as he's living. It's exactly why Rob Manfred is the best commissioner in sports.
Yeah.
Without question. And Adam Silver's a close second.
Yeah.
That is why Rob Manfred jumped from maybe the unknown pool to numero uno.
I wasn't a fan of Manfred before this.
I swear to God, he was just an average guy.
Yeah.
Like, he was an average guy.
I thought Selig did more for the game, too, but Manfred,
he's
got a fingerprint on the
months,
game. Yeah.
In 2 months, Rob Manfred had went from unknown to number one. God dang right. I'm telling you, I'm with you, Chris. The only way Pete Rose gets in is when he's dead. The only guy who I feel got the biggest shaft on that whole Hall of Fame thing was Ron Santo. Maybe he should have been in, maybe he shouldn't have, but they waited until he died to finally find some sympathy to put him in. Garbage. P. Rose, I don't feel sorry for you like I do for Ron Santo.
And he's doing fine. Like, it used to be really sad because I used to work with guys who were from Cincinnati, and they said that he would be in the malls, like, trying to do autograph sessions for $20 a picture and stuff like that. That makes you a little bit sad, but at the end of the day, the guy's doing fine. He's got a Fox job. He's not poor. He's still has a name in the game, and still, let's be honest, people
still trying to grab his reputation by snitching on himself.
But
now.
the craziest shit is people still respect the guy like he didn't cheat. Like, players still love him when he does the Fox. Like I said, he works for Fox, and he, Frank Thomas and Alex Rodriguez. I mean, I don't think Frank Thomas cheated, but Alex.
No, never that. He's just freaking huge.
He's just ginormous. But they have Pete Rose and Alex Rodriguez sitting next to each other, so that's always entertainment. But
Steven says Ted Williams' hit streak record won't be broken. That's probably good facts. You know what? Hitting
Ted
400s
Williams
will never happen again because everyone's trying to hit dingers all day. That's not going to happen. Brian said Altuve just said they're going back to the World Series in 2020. Yeah, on these nuts, he's going back to the World Series. Little cheating ass. Christian says Altuve guaranteed World Series appearance in decade, and Bregman said White Sox and Yankees still won't be able to beat them. Yeah, again, on these nuts. watch Alex Bregman come out hitting 237 with your cheating ass.
I was going to say, this is all fine and dandy until Alex Bregman hits 200 this year.
So the question now is, from Christian, who do you think will manage the Astros, Red Sox, and Mets? Derek says he thinks that Veritek will manage the Red Sox.
That makes a lot of sense.
Christian says right now that he thinks Euclid will manage the Red Sox, Eduardo Perez will manage the Mets, and Jeff Bagwell will manage the Astros.
Are we just going to go with former players from now on? That's the new trend. It's the new trend.
Wait a minute. The Mets one is interesting to me because again, my buddy Ricky was saying that the only two that he liked was Buck Showalter.
Yeah, I was going to say Buck is still hanging.
And maybe bringing back Terry Collins. Here's my question on those.
Yeah.
With the game going to the analytics style,
can
they catch up to the game? Yeah. See, that's why you bring in Carlos Beltran at first, because I'm pretty sure he's familiar with the analytics. And the reason why I think of all the names for the Mets that Eduardo Perez makes the most sense is because you got a lot of Spanish-speaking guys on the Mets.
That's
underrated. And a lot of those guys, it's very underrated, and people want to act like, oh, well, Eduardo Perez doesn't have any experience. Aaron Boone was in the booth, and the Yankees have won 100 games back-to-back.
Look at Rick Renteria. He speaks I think he's the only Spanish-speaking. Oh, no, you know what? They changed that last year, but he was at one time the only Spanish-speaking manager in the league, and the White Sox love him. Like, it's not like he's an amazing manager. The reason why he has his job right now is the White Sox love playing for this guy.
Yes.
They don't have to have an interpreter every single fucking day,
yes,
which must get super old. And a guy can speak Spanglish to you, and help you learn English and help you learn the terms of the game. So, yeah, I think that's very underrated, especially in this day and age where, again, I mean, at least half of your roster is speaking Spanish or some variation of it.
You guys have no idea how much I love you guys right now. There's a lot of activity going on in this chat room right now. This is a very sensitive subject. You guys knew since Tuesday that my black ass was going to come in here and absolutely just explode. So if you miss any of this, make sure you go and check us out on iTunes, please.
And leave a review for us,
And leave
guys.
a review for us, please. That would be so gracious. Tell your friends about us. Say that there's this guy. I've been called to being a homer or whatever. I'll take it.
I'm a homer too.
Yeah, because I just love one team. Sue me about it later. But you want to hear real, raw emotions for a whole hour and 16 minutes that we're at in this show? Tell them to come take a look at us on iTunes. Tell them to look at us on Spotify if you don't do iTunes.
Check out PodRiver.com.
Check out PodRiver.com to come check us out. Check us out at MackandBlack.com. Dude, spread the love.
Yeah, please.
Because I'm telling you, everyone's going to think that all football season over things are going to get boring. Hell no, not on this show.
Just getting started.
Because we're just getting started. Because I'm telling you, this baseball season is going to be lit. I swear, I don't usually watch West Coast baseball, especially West Coast National League baseball, because I'd rather watch paint dry. But I'll be more inclined to watch it to figure out how whatever her name is going to be as a bench manager for the San Francisco Giants, and to see if the Los Angeles Dodgers come out with the same fire that I'm talking about right now with the New York Yankees. I'm telling you, I want nothing short of Giancarlo Stanton. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go on Twitter. I'm going to find out both their Twitter handles. And I'm going to be like, Judge and Giancarlo, I am the most unrealistic. Wait a minute. I'm a diehard New York Yankees fan, but I'm going to give you unrealistic expectations. 70 home runs for both. I want nothing short.
We want a Maris and Mantle type.
You got
race.
dang right. Goddamn right. That's what I want.
And guys, we're also going to be talking UFC 246.
We are going to talk
Conor,
UFC.
Cowboy. I still have a couple things on the baseball, and we'll move on. But Conor, Cowboy is tonight. We'll be watching the prelim shortly here. The Blackhawks are winning 4-1, thankfully. And then we're also going to be talking. Obviously, conference championships start tomorrow, so we'll know by the end of tomorrow. We'll know who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl. So we'll talk the preview of those games, and then we'll also just talk about the week in the NHL and NBA, and get in a little bit of that before we head out.
Yeah. Before we switch, just a couple more comments.
Please.
Andrew said, honestly, I think the Mets did the right thing by detaching themselves from Beltran, so if they had success, it didn't question.
Yeah, it's too much of a distraction either way.
I agree, but I think Carlos stepped down more than the Mets wanted him to go. Because remember, the reports were saying that they were kind of wavering. They were like, okay, I understand why you want to leave, but we don't want you to leave.
He did it. He did it almost to save his own ass, too.
I think so, too.
Because I think he realized that maybe he can get another managing job again after this, rather than stick around with the Mets, have them actually investigate concrete stuff, and then have him get fired.
Right.
Probably looks worse on him. So.
And then Christopher Brown says the thing is, Mac, is that they don't think Renteria can help them get over the top and contend for a ring.
Who's that?
The White Sox.
They brought him back this year, my guy. How do they not think that? They could have, they could have not brought him back this year.
True. Prior to this past offseason, they were looking at Omar Vizquel as a possible successor, but he's been replaced
Not
as
really.
the Charlotte manager.
I was going to say
he
he was in Charlotte. They didn't want him as a White Sox manager. That was just noise.
Christian says, which third baseman gets traded first, Nolan Arenado or Chris Bryant?
Apparently,
question.
Apparently, the Cubs don't want to trade Bryant anymore. They just said, "Fuck it." The arbitration case happened. They're going to write out the year and maybe use him as trade bait. But apparently, that may not happen anymore. I think Arenado is more likely to happen.
Okay, that's A. For B, let me say something, because, dude, my mind is like 100 places right now, and I'm absolutely loving it. Look at it like this. What you just said made me think about the presidential candidate between when Trump went against Clinton.
Okay, yeah.
The question I asked was, because I didn't trust either one of them. Yeah. So my question was, who's going to send America to hell first? Faster. Hillary or Donald, okay. Right? Yeah. Okay. I thought that the way things were going, I thought Hillary may have sent us to hell a little bit faster than Donald. I'm not saying Donald would have sent us there.
Based on her history.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Donald would have sent us there, but maybe it would have been more of a slower death than what Hillary was.
Plus, he was campaigning on not doing that, right? He was campaigning that we're not going to, we're going to stay right here and focus on America. So
exactly.
You're like, all right, fuck it.
So now my question with the Cubs is, how do I make myself look dumber? Do I trade Chris Bryant and make us look stupid, or I just let him go and make us look even more stupid? Like, which one? Dude, Theo Epstein, just go.
Just trade him.
Just either trade him or just go.
Apparently, they were saying that they might have wanted to try and trade Bryant to the Rockies as a part of a trade for Arenado. I don't understand that. Like, you just traded a guy that you could extend to a big deal for a guy who has a ginormous deal already. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So I think Arenado's getting traded first. Apparently, the Cardinals are really in on Arenado.
I've heard that too.
So that makes sense to me. That makes a lot of sense to me because St. Louis hasn't made a lot of sexy moves this offseason, but they won the division last year, so you're not exactly sure what to think of a team like that. I think they may be more inclined to go out there and make a splash because they have a good farm system too. They could probably make it happen.
Facts. Eric says, I'm so missing Nick on podcast. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Sean says he thinks Chris Bryant gets traded first. And then Steven just echoed what you said, that Arenado's rumored to be traded to the Cardinals. Dude, guys, put them in the chat. Say whatever you want. I'm reading them as we're going.
And we're not going to jump off of baseball. So if you have questions about baseball, even if we're talking football, throw it in there.
Because you know talk. What I do want to do real quick.
It's a podcast, not a radio, guys. You can do whatever you want now.
Exactly. It's not like, well, in the 2 o'clock. I'm not trying to hear that nonsense.
No. We're only going to be talking football now, guys. Excuse us. No,
exactly.
We'll talk whatever you guys want.
You just mentioned hockey earlier. Big ups, by the way, to my hockey team, the New York Rangers, that has finally figured out a way to defeat the New York Islanders. And this is what's going to happen. We all know that Alexander Georgiev is on his way out. But you can't trade him until we beat the Islanders again for the 3rd time in a row. And then you can go ahead and trade him. Because Henrik Lundqvist can't beat their ass. I don't know why he can't, but he can't. But for some reason, Georgiev has the fish sticks number. And let me say this, too. I love how all the fish sticks... Let me tell you the biggest cop-out in all the sports, and I'm in this hockey group that's represented by either Devils, Rangers, Islanders, or Flyers fans. And really the only 3 teams that even talk are the Devils, Islanders, and Rangers. I don't even know Flyer fans exist, but...
Not when they're not good.
Exactly. The biggest cop-out I always hear is, oh, you guys beat us. Here goes your parade. That's the biggest cop-out I've ever heard when your team just got their ass whooped. So when the Rangers defeated the Islanders in the Garden 6-2, here comes Islander fans out of the woodworks. Oh, the rag fans are out here talking.
It's been a while
crazy.
since they've been good, too. So they
the Islanders?
Now that they're good, they're kind of like, all right.
I know.
We'll talk a little bit. And honestly, the Blackhawks, I've been super happy about. I was just checking the playoff standings because, they've made a run. They're at 20, and they're at 50 points total right now. So they're about 4 out from the playoff picture, but they've had absolutely terrible injuries. Our whole defense, let's just put it this way. Our defense sucks right now. We're slow. We've got too many old guys. And the only thing keeping us up is basically Kane and Taves and some of the firepower we have. So I'm trying to stay optimistic about the Blackhawks, but I'm almost thinking at this point we may have to be sellers at this deadline.
I've been thinking for that for a long minute now. Like, man, dude,
the problem is they're like middling. They're winning 2 or 3, losing 2 or 3. And that's just, you can't. It's hard to make a case to trade everyone.
All I can say for the Blackhawks is thank you for giving up on Panarin.
Oh my God!
And that he just
for Brandon Saad, who now they're talking about trading Brandon Saad again. That worked out so well for us.
I need 2 jerseys in my future.
Even Hayes, isn't Hayes doing pretty well for you guys too?
He's in Philly now, but he was doing well.
Yeah,
he was doing well, but he went back.
The Blackhawks have a really nasty tendency of having young kids who do really well and then trade them to try and get cap flexibility.
Yep.
This is fucking stupid. Stan Bowman, if you're going to trade or if you're going to fire Quenneville, you should have stepped down yourself. So it's tough to be excited about the Blackhawks or the Bulls right now.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about that whole Quenneville thing. Like, I know Blackhawks fans to this day.
It's hard to get over.
It's hard to get right. Like, I shouldn't get over 2017.
Yeah, we're still talking about Q.
We're still talking about Q. But here's the thing. I just think that at the end of the day, I feel like Q lost the locker room. Like, the Blackhawks. We know that sports tends to be a whole lot of what have you done for me lately kind of thing. So the Blackhawks went from champions to losing in the Western Conference Finals, to being swept by a team that they've dominated for so long in the playoffs by the Nashville Predators, who at that time I still think weren't as good as the Blackhawks.
No, they weren't. We should have beat them.
Just having at the end of the day, just having the slowest start you can think of. Mm-hmm. And I still think that what kind of killed the Blackhawks was when Hossa went down had to retire because of that allergic reaction to his equipment. Yeah. Now, that's not saying anything bad about Kane. I think Kane is a monster. I think Taves is a monster. I think, Corey Crawford has suffered so many concussions. Like he's kind of on his last leg.
And he's gone. He's going to be gone after this year too. Yeah. His contract expires.
But when you lost Hossa, which was kind of like the glue,
right? Yeah.
Then everything kind of fell apart. Christian, who's a big Blackhawks fan, says that Bowman needs to go.
Yeah.
And then he said that Bowman is the Theo Epstein of hockey, signs bad contracts, overpays for free agents.
But here's the thing about that. You're right on about that just simply because they do have, they win you championships, but they also are going to fuck you up at some points.
Right.
My problem with that is that the leash that's been given to Stan Bowman hasn't been given to Quenneville, and I think Quenneville had as much to do with those teams having success as Bowman did. And quite frankly, you can make a case that Bowman was the one who tore the franchise apart because every single year he was trying to do this crazy I'm gonna think 2 steps ahead and I'm gonna trade this young guy so I can get flexibility next year to do this, and this. And it's like, dude, we're playing in the season right now.
Right.
We got a season to play. So you're right. That's a pretty good parallel, but my problem with that is Epstein. If I'm a Cubs fan, I still trust Epstein. I don't know what the tempo is or what the mindset is for Cubs fans right now. If I'm a Cubs fan, I'm not oh no, we're in trouble. Theo's in charge. No, I think Theo's going to be just fine for them. I think you just have to. If you're a Cubs fan this year, you gotta really temper your expectations for this team. This isn't going to be a 90-win team. I don't even think it might even, you might not even be looking at 82 wins this year. So just have to be happy if you do get the 82 wins this year because we don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, the whole thing with Stan Bowman is that the leash has been too long. It's time to let him go. But the problem is the team just keeps winning, and now they're winning 5-1 against the Maple Leafs, and they,
speaking
historically
of the devil,
don't do well.
Steven, if you're still watching, what are you thinking about Georgiev to Toronto? Because it seems every notification I get is saying that Toronto seems to be the team that's really hot on Georgiev because they just don't trust Frederik Andersen.
Yeah.
They don't trust this fool at all.
I don't blame
them. But they're stuck with him. I think Georgiev to Toronto makes sense if the price is right. Like, I know I might be overstepping by saying a first-round draft pick. However, you got a first-round pick for the Winnipeg Jets for Kevin Hayes, which you did turn around and flip for Jacob Trouba. Mm-hmm. So, and again, this is JD, John Davidson, that's now the president of operations with Jeff Gordon up there in New York. So maybe they try and get a first-round draft pick because Toronto isn't terrible. They just need a better goalie. So maybe Georgiev is could be that guy. Let me see. Christopher Brown says, hold on, let me go this way. Nachum Rosman said, "Who's managing?" I said, I think Eduardo Perez is the perfect fit.
I honestly think Dusty might have that one because
there's Dusty Baker too.
They probably would like the fact that he's been there before. Yeah. Because let's be honest, what the hell's the name of the guy last year? Their manager last year, the Mets. His name is slipping me. Callaway.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why Callaway didn't work out is because he didn't have a lot of experience. Like last year during time, like let's be honest, the Mets, remember, they put themselves back into the conversation and they let games slip through their fingers a lot. And a lot of that has to do with experience. I think Dusty Baker might be a safe hire for them because right now, I'm not sure Eduardo Perez checks all the boxes for them that they need. So I would take Dusty in New York. I would honestly venture to say that Buck Showalter should be in the conversation for Boston too. I don't know if he has been. I haven't read anything about that. But man, if I'm Boston, why not? Buck is a guy who's been there before, pitching or managing big spots before, and knows the AL East pretty well. So why not? But
Christopher says, my issue with Quenneville was his dump and chase coaching style. Whatever happened to attacking the net and clogging the slot with guys who can throw their weight around and shoot at point-blank range? But then you lost Hossa and you lost Dustin Byfuglien. Those two guys right there were kind of like the X factors of what that was. So when you lost Hossa, who big you was going to put there in front?
And let me say something, too. How did the Blackhawks do last year when they went back to the dump and chase? The problem with the Blackhawks was the personnel was not as good on the ice. Mm-hmm. That was the problem. Was that when they remember they traded Saad for Panarin, and actually it was Panarin and Anisimov. Mm-hmm. Anisimov had okay, but Panarin was tremendous for us. But what happened was they realized, Panarin's not going to be able to do much for us. And instead of going out and maximizing the value for Panarin, who had a ton of value, they just traded to get Brandon Saad back. Like, the mentality of this team is like, let's bring back our old buddies. Remember Saad? Remember Sharp? Let's bring him back. Fuck Saad. Get equal value for Panarin because look what happened to him with Columbus. Columbus wasn't listening to his people. Columbus was like, they were telling Columbus, he's not going to stay here. He doesn't like the weather. He's not a fan of the state in general. He's not going to stay here. He's going to go find somewhere to get paid. And lo and behold, he went to the Rangers, and you see how that's working out for them right now. So, personnel wise, the problem with the Blackhawks is, it's hard to pinpoint one reason why the team sucks so bad, but also it's hard to complain. When you have that many championships in that little span, sometimes you have to trade your soul to the devil to get a couple of championships. That's what the Blackhawks did.
Christian says Dale Talon deserves all credit for building Blackhawks before he stepped down and Bowman took over and started giving out bad
100%. People forget he's the one who drafted Taves and King.
Right. Steven says Toronto wants to give up their 2 top rookies in a draft pick for Georgiev. Oh, dude. I'm telling you right now, they're waiting until they beat the Islanders for the 3rd time, and Georgiev is out. Because, and I mentioned this last week, they have to trade him because Lundqvist is forever exercising his no-trade clause. He says, I don't really want out of New York. Shesterkin is the future of New York. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, the odd man out is Georgiev.
Right.
But at the same time, with the expansion draft coming in next year, Georgiev is probably going to be the guy that Seattle is going to draft. So you might as well give up whatever you can. And if the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are desperate for a goalie, is going to give up two of their top rookies and a draft pick, and maybe JD and Jeff
take that and run
to maybe be a first-round pick, dude, you got to take that deal and run.
Yeah.
Run with it to the hills, baby. And that means that Shesterkin is in, and Lundqvist just kind of like he'll have some spot starts here and there, but you got to give it to the future. Because, dude, I mean, I love Henrik, but, man, he's lost a step. And it's not all necessarily his fault. I think the Rangers took not advantage, but took him for granted for the fact of how good of a goalie he was, and the man's worn out.
Yeah.
He's more worn out than he wants to admit. He's more worn out than the Rangers want to say. But we as fans know that he's worn out. And Shesterkin is 2-0 as the goalie for the New York Rangers. This man's the future. The Rangers got to tighten up that defense. Please fire Lindy Ruff. He sucks as our defensive guy. Get rid of this idiot. He couldn't get it done in Buffalo or Dallas or wherever the hell he was at. Get rid of him. Done. David Quinn's got to drop a set of balls and freaking get rid of this guy. Sweet mamacita, dude. Obviously Sean says go Blues. The Blackhawks. He also said the Blackhawks don't have 4 lines.
Yeah.
Brian says I don't want Dusty. He never wins the big games because he's a big Mets fan. Yeah. Christian said if the Blackhawks will be seller, would you trade both Leonard and Crawford?
No, because Crawford's going to walk after this year, and they want to bring back Leonard. So apparently Leonard wants to come back. He likes this team, so and the fans love him, and he's been our best goalie this year. And when you have Crawford coming off the books, it's not a money thing anymore. So I think they bring back Leonard. I think it's more likely that Crawford leaves or gets traded because Crawford's apparently saying he's not going to take a backup role next year. So he wants a starting role. Maybe a team like Toronto even swoops in and says, okay, fuck it, try out for us the rest of this year, and we'll see what happens. But I think it's more likely that both of them stay, to be quite honest, because the Blackhawks don't have good leverage right now. Nobody really believes in these players. Like, even Lehner, to a certain extent, he's been okay for us, but he saved us a bunch of times.
Right.
Like, he saved us in spots where we shouldn't have won. So I wouldn't anticipate either one leaving, but I would say Crawford has a better chance of it.
And then Steven, to me, says Georgiev is unprotected. That's why we trading him and part of that draft list. Exactly. That's what I read, too. So the Rangers got to get value out of him. And if you're right about that, two top prospects and a first-round pick Alexander Georgiev, who's unprotected next year. Dude, again, soon as that Islanders game's over, I should see breaking news. Alexander Georgiev traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I hope that one of them top prospects is defensive men. And I mentioned this. I mentioned this last week, and I'll bring it up again because it's kind of happening to the Rangers again. The Rangers really need a defensive-minded defensive man. All of our defensive men are so offensive-minded. It's crazy.
Right,
yeah, because if you remember in the glory days, we had so many defensive guys, but not offensive guys. Like Dan Girardi could put the puck in the net. Ryan McDonough could put the puck in the net. Mark Stahl could put the puck in the net. But now you got Trouba that can do it, Shea that can do it, D'Angelo that can do it, Brendan Smith's in and out, he can do it. Like, it's too much offense, and Mark Stahl's old. So until we can wait for Keandre Miller and some of these other guys, to kind of grow until they're ready, man, we need a defensive-minded first guy. And Keith Yandel, when we traded from him from Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, or from it was from Arizona. He went to Florida afterwards. That's another guy that can do so. I'm thinking if we can find a defensive-minded guy to pair up with our offensive-minded guys, I'm telling you, the Rangers rebuild will be just like the Yankees rebuild. You're thinking we rebuilding, we make the playoffs, and it's just over for the rest of the Metro. So screw you, New Jersey. Screw you, the Islanders. Screw you, Philly. Screw you, Washington. I'm going to put that up there because I know that they're, flying high, but that window finna close real quick. I'm calling that right now. Enjoy. And Pittsburgh, you can piss off too. All of y'all on notice. The Rangers are putting all y'all on notice. Just like the Yankees got Major League Baseball on notice, the Rangers are putting the Metro on notice. Next year, it's the East. 2022, it is the entire NHL.
Oh my God.
When Igor the Great Shesterkin has run through the NHL with the bread man and all the young Ranger stars. Facts.
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm watching this UFC prelim fight, Tim Elliott and Askarov. Tim Elliott almost got knocked out. But, yeah, we're watching the prelims. So, yeah, we'll eventually get to the Conor and Cowboy. So we'll probably wrap up with that, to be quite honest.
Brian brings up a great point. A big middle finger to the fish sticks, because do you know that Artemi Panarin was actually offered more money to the Islanders, and he chose New York?
Wow.
That's how you know. Well, first off, the Islanders don't even know where they're going to be playing pretty
I was going to say, they have a stadium issue, don't they?
Yeah,
like they're
huge one.
Yeah.
And second off, nobody wants to wear them ugly-ass colors they got. Nobody. Matter of fact, Brian knows who I'm talking about. This girl all of a sudden said she went back to her Islander roots. She used to root for the Rangers, and she went back to her Islander roots. I have never in my life been so disappointed when I saw that. So when the Rangers won the first game 6-2,
you have to rub it in her face a little bit.
The troll game was on point. On point. I was like, because, they do the Daniel Bryan yes chant when they score goals.
They
but
do.
I came with the Dikembe Mutombo, no, not today.
Not today.
And I knew they was blue when Chris Kreider scored that goal after Derek Broussard took that stupid-ass penalty, cross-check penalty, when that game should have went into overtime. But, hey, sucks for you for being an idiot.
Take the win.
So, thank you, Derek Broussard, because you helped us out when you were with the Rangers. And now you're helping us again when you're with the fish sticks, idiot. Freaking moron.
So, yeah, guys, do us a huge favor again, guys. We talked to you about it before, but if you have an iPhone, go to the iTunes app and just search our show and leave us a review. Write anything you want, but I'm pretty sure it's just a couple clicks. Just go to the app. If you do have like an Android phone or something else, you can check us out on Spotify. You can check us out on YouTube. You can go to directly to our page. You can also, I believe, go to Google Play. So Google Play will have us in there as well. But help us out. We're trying to get the word out there about the show, guys. So if you are listening right now and you haven't shared the show, just share it for us, and we will hug your bodies. So. Yeah, I'm watching this fight right now. It's getting pretty big, and Tim Elliott, Awkward MMA versus, I believe it's Albert Askarov, but it's a pretty darn good fight so far. They keep
nice
little
little judo flip.
Yeah, they keep taking each other down.
I just got a notification that Louisville has upset Duke.
Lots of upsets this year.
Yeah,
man.
dude.
Jesus Christ.
DePaul upset Butler.
Wow.
Yeah,
DePaul coming up.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. Like, I usually don't really get into college basketball. Like, I'll watch a game here and there.
It takes me till January.
At least till January, if not February. But, man, there's some teams really on the come up. Like, I guess if I was going to throw, like, one spoiler in there and I'm going to watch them a little bit closely, I know I'm a fan for them of football, but, man, Florida State is really good. And here's the thing about Florida State, and they've shown this over the last 2 years. They have all the defensive athleticism. Like, Leonard Hamilton does a great job preaching defense to these guys.
Yeah.
The problem is they're so offensively struck, like they can't keep up. Like that game against Michigan a couple years ago, Florida State should have beaten Michigan. But they didn't because Michigan, that was the team with, no, that wasn't Trae Young. I forget who was on that team. It was Rick Beeline's or John Beeline's like last year with
that was
them.
the one with like, not Brizgalis. What's the name of Wagner.
Yep.
Morris Wagner.
With that team, if Florida State had more offense, they would have beaten that Michigan team. And then you saw it kind of a little bit last year. Like, Ja Morant had a wonderful game last year when Florida State beat the brakes off them, but they just offensively can't catch up with some of these teams. If this year, if they can find a way to catch up with guys offensively, I think they can make a real deep run into the Final Four. Leonard Hamilton's done a really great job. He's been down there for so long. But now Florida State's starting
for a minute.
Yeah, dude. Florida State's starting to get a little bit better on the basketball. I know they're known for being a football school, but man, they're on the basketball side. So I think that's one team, especially in the ACC, that's always the heavy one.
Speaking of Ja Morant, God, dude, it seems like every single day this guy is proving why he was the best player in this draft.
Facts.
Like, I get it. We still have to watch Zion, and we still have to see how he does, which, by the way, they did officially say this Wednesday now. This Wednesday, Zion Williamson will be making his debut with the New Orleans Pelicans. So if you guys can tune in this Wednesday. I forgot who it's against, but he will be playing He will be playing this Wednesday. He's been practicing for a couple weeks. He's been, he looks okay. But again, the guy hasn't seen a court since summer league.
Yep.
So it's hard to say. But John Moran every single day is doing something crazy. He's like out dueling James Harden in one game, then the next game he's like jumping 15 feet in the air and then like spinning and like doing a behind the back pass. Like this guy, Tracy McGrady, said that he thinks this guy might be the best player in the league soon. I don't know about that, but he looks really good, and I think he proved to people why maybe the gap between him and Zion was a little bit smaller than we thought.
Right.
Because remember, during the draft, it was like Zion and then everyone else. But really, like maybe Ja deserved to be in that tier.
Yep.
Because people forgot that Memphis got that pick, and they weren't talking about Ja at first. It wasn't until they traded RJ Barrett. And then what happened was they said, oh, well, I mean, we could trade Mike Conley and then we'll bring him in here. And that's worked out amazing for them. And by the way, it hasn't worked out too well for Utah. So yeah, I mean,
even though Utah's 28-13.
So here's the thing that I like about Utah. They're the same team that they were last year.
Yeah.
Conley just doesn't play that big of a role. You know what I'm saying? It's always going to be Donovan. Like that team is amazing defensively, but it's always going to be Donovan Mitchell, Ingles, and they're going to work the ball around. They don't have a number one guy, and I think they expected him to be a number one guy. He's not. Conley's just a very nice complementary piece. I thought Conley made a lot of sense for the Lakers this year, but apparently the Lakers don't have much. They didn't have much to work with after they brought in all the reinforcements after AD. But yeah, I figured to drop that in about Ja. He's looked amazing.
Yeah, he has. Sean echoed the same question you just asked about being excited for Zion on Wednesday, and I guess that game's against the Spurs. So.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I'm excited, but I'm more so like anxious. Like, oh God, like did this guy lose it? Like, I don't think it's that easy, but at the same time, I'd like to see him like play like 10 to 15 games before I make a judgment on him. But I'm very excited. Let's remember, dude, it was must-see basketball when he was playing with Duke. Like, I remember rushing home from work at some points, like I need to watch this game that he's going to have against whatever, even if it was a shitty team. I remember rushing home against that game against North Carolina, and that's when he blew his shoe out.
Yep.
So yeah, it's going to be exciting, but at the same time, and by the way, New Orleans is looking amazing. Brandon Ingram just dropped 50-something, I think.
Yeah, and we talked earlier about how Lonzo Ball is really starting to get his
triple-double today.
Yeah, and Sean just mirrored what you said about Ingram dropping 50. So
yeah, Ingram looks damn good. And by the way, the Lakers, remember everyone was saying that's nothing. They didn't give up anything for AD. I don't know, dude. Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Hart, and a pick. I think it was more than one pick.
I think it was too.
That doesn't seem too bad of a haul for New Orleans. Like if I'm New Orleans, Lonzo's my point guard of the future.
Yep.
I'm not letting go of Ingram.
Yep.
I've got Zion.
Yep.
And they've got money. They're going to have money to spend the next couple of years too. They're an interesting one, man. And by the way, they have JJ Redick, who clearly believed in this team. He had other options. That was weird when he signed with them. Like, you were thinking he went from Philly. He literally went to Philly because he wanted to win, right? And then this offseason when Philly didn't bring him back, everyone was saying Lakers, everyone was saying Portland, this, and that. And he goes to New Orleans, who wasn't considered to be a playoff team. He clearly saw something in them, and they're playing damn well right now.
That is true. All right, guys. Well, we're at the 140. Yeah, Christian says, I can see AD leave Lakers and sign with the Clippers in the summer. Ooh.
They won't have the money for that, though.
Yeah, they won't.
Yeah, that's the problem. They won't have the money for that. They've already, let's just put it this way. The Clippers are set. They don't have much roster movement that they can do because they might lose Trez Harrell this year.
Yep.
They might lose Trez Harrell. But remember, Paul George, Kawhi both have supermaxes. And what's his face? Lou Williams got paid a couple of years ago too. Mm-hmm. So they don't have much space. They can't. The Lakers. Let's just put it this way: the Lakers. I know that they're not going to do this, but if I were them, I would be talking to Rich Paul about trying to get something done before free agency starts. I know that's not going to happen, but we talked about it even like weeks and weeks and weeks ago before the season even started. Everyone's making the assumption he's going to come back because of a handshake deal. We don't know what the hell that means. Like, at the end of the day, dude, if the Clippers win the championship, which I think right now it's not a given, but I would say that they're right up there with all the teams in the West. then Anthony would really have to trust in LeBron and what they're doing in Los Angeles to do that. I will say this: I think he's going to stay with the Lakers because I didn't realize how much of a relationship he had with LeBron and with Rich Paul, and I even like the 2K20 thing. Him and Rich Paul and LeBron all did the they executive produced the career mode, and like he joined Clutch Sports, the same sports company. So he's too embedded. I think what this is, what Anthony Davis has done by holding out is essentially say, I'm not going to set my value right now. I'm going to tell you what my value is when I go out there and play a ton. By the way, because he's been playing a ton, not because he wants to, by the way. He's playing through injury because he wants to prove to people that I'm not an injured guy. I just had a shitty team in New Orleans that never knew how to deal with my injuries.
Right.
So AD is trying to make that he's trying to do a prove it thing, and I think what he's trying to do is he's going to say, fuck the regular season. See how I do in the postseason? Trust me, you're going to pay me. So I think he'll stay put with the Lakers, but we'll see. You never know.
Yeah, I guess he turned down a potential extension with LA, but a lot of people are saying that's because he could sign for more money.
Exactly.
When
later.
When
free agency actually opens.
So, right. So him turning down a $189 million contract extension now opens him up to be able to sign a 202 Supermax at the end of the year. But we'll see how the Lakers finish out, man, because there's still all you always notice that there's always these rumors that always come out. Like, for instance, Karl Anthony Towns supposedly has been disgruntled in Minnesota. Now, I read something a little bit ago that he denies that, but at the same time,
what else are you going to say when somebody asks you that? Yeah, I do hate it here. You're going to say, I'm fine.
Because they just traded Jeff Teague to Atlanta.
Oh, they did. I missed this.
Yeah, they traded Jeff Teague to Atlanta. So
and he's on a big 1 year deal. I think it's like 1 year, $19 million or something.
Yeah,
like that.
So that sounds like a salary dump eventually, or maybe a trading piece.
I was gonna say they might have just made more flexibility for themselves because remember Andrew Wiggins. He's having a better season this year, but they were like 50-50 on him before the season.
That's true.
He's had a decent season, so I don't know if they want to bring him back or not. But I've never been a huge Andrew Wiggins guy, just simply because even at Kansas, I didn't think he scored enough.
Right.
Like he remember, like at Kansas, they thought he was like LeBron-like.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like he's not LeBron-like. He's a very athletic kid who was very well hyped up because he was the number one prospect from middle school until he, went to Kansas. But to say this guy is clear and above, a superstar guy, which by the way, they paid him like a semi-superstar. So that still remains to be seen here as we're watching the UFC again.
Blades versus
Dos Santos. That's I think next week. So that would be an interesting fight night. We're watching Tim Elliott, the decision here between Tim Awkward MMA Elliott and Albert Askarov. It looks like Askarov won that fight. I think Elliott got wobbled in the first round, but let's see who they give it to. And the winner is Askarov. So
Christian tells me, let's go to the Field of Dreams game in Iowa. Yankees versus White
Sox.
Man,
dude, we should broadcast from there. Damn, that would be dope as hell. That's a good.
Let's see how much these tickets are.
I was gonna say and my big thing is the trip. Like the trip is gonna be the biggest part because the tickets probably will be like what, like maybe 100,
something like that.
But I would say the trip would be the biggest
drive to Iowa.
It's a nice little drive, and then you gotta stay the night.
Well, think about it, Iowa. Okay, so the drive from here to at least to Des Moines, which is right off the border. Okay, let me take that back. The drive from here to the border of Iowa is a solid 2 hours.
Oh, wow. It's not even
It could be $1.45 if you're driving fast enough. Mm-hmm. So now you got to figure out where it is from Iowa once you get into the state to...
I guess I'll have to research that.
Yeah. Take a look at it, see where it's at. Because, we try and rent a car.
Yeah, I already got my Sox tickets for this year, but they're not doing individual games right now, which just goes to show that the White Sox are going to be raking in money for attendance this year, which they've never seen before.
Right.
So they've got to be happy about that. So it's August 13th, which gives us some time to figure it out. Limited ticket availability will be announced in MLB in the months ahead, so I guess we'll have to wait on that. And it will be they're still constructing the field, by the way,
for the Field of Dreams
for the
game.
Field of Dreams game. So we don't have any info on the park specific dimensions.
That game actually takes a home game away from the Yankees White Sox. It actually takes a home game away from the White
both?
Sox.
I was gonna say from the White Sox because they're gonna. I heard they're gonna make the stadium look like Old Comiskey because it's supposed to be a White Sox home game.
And you know how much I love going to see that. Well, here's the irony of all this. The Yankees, and I'm going to make this announcement now. So anyone that lives in New York, you can go. My bad. I've already made this announcement. The Yankees play the White Sox. I think it's like August. I want to say like it's the Thursday. I think that's like the 11th. And then Friday's off. And then it's the 13th and 14th, which is Saturday, Friday, Saturday or something. I mean, Saturday, Sunday. Something crazy like that. I'm in New York August the 20th.
Oh.
I've already made that decision.
It's done.
So it's done.
Done deal.
So if you're from New York and you know I'm coming out and you know we've hung out before or we missed us hanging out
don't pretend like he didn't give you like 3 or 4 months in advance.
I'm giving you 4 months in advance to prepare for Oso Negro's return to the Big Apple on August the 20th to the 31st. I always spend at least 10, 11 days in New York.
Yep.
Got things to do, people to see.
So people be ready for Oso to hit New York this year.
God dang right. Now, let's get into what is still kind of the cream of the show, which is the NFL.
Yes, sir. By the way, the Blazers traded Kent Bazemore today, too. They traded Bazemore to... Oh, God, I hate this new app.
Which one?
Oh, the ESPN. Because I got a new phone, and now it updates all of my stuff automatically, which really pisses me off. But I like older versions of apps sometimes. Like this ESPN app is just garbage now. But, yeah, Bazemore got traded to the Kings. But, yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that. Yeah, so conference championship weekend is upon us.
Okay, hold on. Before we get into that, my bad if I didn't talk. I'm assuming this kind of happened last week, but I did make some kind of mention of oh God, what's dude's name? Joe Judge, who's now the new head coach of the New York Giants.
He brought in Jason Garrett to be his OC, by the way.
That's where I was going.
Oh, okay.
God, dude, I feel so bad for Giants fans.
You gotta.
I feel so bad for him. Like, okay, you got rid of whatever dude's name was.
What's his name?
Oh, geez, I can't even think of his name. He was so garbage. And Gettleman turns around and hires, instead of just waiting until the Ravens were out of the playoffs to have an interview with Greg Roman, you went out and got the wide receivers coach of the New England Patriots, whose wide receivers were hot-ass garbage all year.
Yeah, and I know he's been around the block, but that remains like that point still remains. Like you are you're clearly just trying the same gimmick that every team tries now, which is let's just get one of Belichick's assistants and let's see how this works out. You know, if I'm the Giants, man, I gotta be frustrated. Like first of all, the Giants didn't play that terribly this year. Like, the Giants did have some games where they were in it. And, by the way, they were suffering some injuries to both Saquon and Daniel Jones and their receivers and Evan Ingram and their offensive line. Like, they went through a lot. So, to me, it seems like a lateral move what they did. And the Jason Garrett signing is just, to me, what it sounded like was Joe Judge saying, I need a veteran around here because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Because, let's be honest, how much involvement do assistant coaches have in Belichick's game plan? You know, maybe they execute it, but do you really think Joe Judge is going to Bill Belichick and saying, by the way, maybe we should change this to this or do this way? I really don't think so. I think it's very, like, what I think of New England like, and I don't have any proof of this, but here's what I think it's like. Belichick meets with the coordinators, and the coordinators deal with all the position coaches.
Shurmur, by the way.
Pat Shurmur, sorry. Yeah. And by the way, the Bears wanted to make him the OC, and he decided to go against the Bears and go. I think he's in Denver now. He's the OC for Denver
with Fangio.
So the big thing with the Giants is just like they rushed it. Like I understand what they were trying to do, but it seems kind of crazy. And you're right, Greg Roman was the guy this year, and it seemed like. I know that Washington went quickly with Ron Rivera, but that seemed like a no-brainer almost because Rivera was such a highly respected guy in the league. So I'm a little bit unsure as to what the direction the Giants are trying to go, but you never know in football, man. It's too soon to say this isn't going to work out. But were there better opportunities and better candidates? Probably.
So. Let's go into some of these games, recap a few games. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the Kansas City Chiefs, who I said last week on this show would mollywop the piss out of the Houston Texans, because I think the Houston Texans in these playoffs of the teams that were remaining were the most overrated team in the playoffs. I still, thank God, my sister watches football religiously and she's very smart. She echoed the same thing I did. She said that J.J. Watt equals overrated, and I will say that until I'm
nowhere to
be
seen.
Face.
Nowhere to be seen.
He's
when you
nowhere
need
to be seen. Okay, he could be Captain America and do commercials that he's going around doing all this cleaning of the rivers, and then he can run out on the field with
They play that shit every
day. And then he runs out on the field with an American flag to show that he's kind of like the John Cena of the NFL. He
plays catch with kids in the crowd before the game.
But let me tell you what. You know how many times we called J.J. Watt's name? How about the 3 or 4 times in that second half against the Buffalo Bills? Yeah. Which leads me to my next point. I will still say till I'm blue in the face that Deshaun Watson is overrated too. Because, no offense to anybody, but if Josh Allen made 3 smart throws in that game against Buffalo,
they win.
Against Houston, they easily beat them sorry-ass Texans. Yeah. That team is overrated as balls, and the Kansas City Chiefs was playing possum with these idiots last week.
That was weird. It seemed like Kansas City did everything they could in the first 15 minutes of the game to give Houston confidence to win the game. And then next thing you know,
it was 28-24.
Yeah. Next thing you know, 28-24, and Houston looked like they had lost right after that. You look at the sidelines, you're like, oh, we're done. Like, we can't do it. And they're on the road. Like, that's the worst part is when you get to that big of a lead on the road. And by the way, how have they not fired Bill O'Brien yet? They should have fired him the second after the game was over. Like, okay, buzzer hit 0. All right, now we're putting out the press release, because what that guy has done has not been substantial enough for him to keep his job.
I agree with you.
And we've watched too many games where he's literally lost them the game. And by the way, that Buffalo game, I re-listened to the podcast that we did to try and find some clips, and I remember us talking and watching it live. They went for it on 4th and 1 when they didn't have to.
Right.
They were at their 50-yard line, or I think it was like 45. All they had to do was pooch punt it into the inside the 5 or inside the 10. Buffalo has to go all this way with no timeouts, and you probably win the game. Instead, you go for it on 4th and 1. You give up the ball, and Buffalo ties the game up, and you go to overtime.
And you're lucky that they tied the game up, because they should have scored a touchdown to win
It's crazy to me that this guy hasn't been fired yet. And again, he must have naked pictures of the McNairs or something, because I just don't understand how this guy still has a job right now.
Yeah, dude. So,
Kansas City. Shout out to Kansas City. That was a great comeback.
That was a great comeback. And no offense, there's really not too much to say about it. Like, Patrick Mahomes went into beast mode, and here's the thing too. Kansas City, if you're going to be real about it, shot themselves in the foot for at least the first quarter and a half. There were so many drop passes and wide open plays that at some point, Patrick Mahomes is like, all right, guys, we're all right, let's be done playing. Travis Kelce, let me prove to everybody why you should be considered the best tight end in the game over George Kittle. So what did he go out and have? Like, of those 4 touchdown passes, 3 of them bad boys with the Travis Kelce. Go figure. And then they just do After they went up 24-0, the Chiefs outscored Houston 51-7.
Wow.
That is inexcusable.
Wow.
So they ended up covering the 10 that they were supposed to. And now they go into this game tomorrow against the Tennessee Titans, who go into Baltimore and upset them. Now,
wow.
Not so much of the game, because I'm not so upset with what happened with Lamar Jackson. The man's 23 years old.
He's younger than Joe Burrow.
Younger than Joe Burrow. He's been in the playoffs twice. You know, he's got a lot of growing up to do as a quarterback, which is fine. What pisses me off is all the "I told you so's" that come after.
I know, yeah.
I hate that with a passion. I told you that style of football isn't going to work in the playoffs. Dude, he had a bad game. He just picked the wrong time to have it.
And Tennessee, let's be honest, they played tremendous defense that game.
Right. Like, no offense to everybody, and I know Peyton Manning seems to be like the stepping stone when it comes to a lot of things, a comparison with the Bucs is with Jameis Winston, but I'm going to use this here with Lamar Jackson. Let's stop acting like Peyton Manning had instant success as a pocket quarterback when he went in the playoffs the first 2 or 3 times he was in there.
Right.
Because, no offense, how many years did it take before he finally beat the great Tom Brady?
Oh, dude.
And if you want to be extra real about it, the New England Patriots borderline gift wrapped that, because they did the same thing that Bill O'Brien did with this whole nonsense with the Buffalo game.
Right.
You give these guys short field, and with the great Peyton Manning, he went dead into the end zone.
Right.
So before you try to act like a scrambling quarterback can't win in a playoff game, which is stupid.
And he's the only reason why they were even in that game. Like, that was the worst part about it, is like he wasn't the one losing in that game. He did turn over the ball a couple times, but Tennessee was prepared. Like, one thing that you can say about Tennessee is they may be undermanned, but damn, are they prepared.
Right.
Like, Vrabel does a tremendous job with them, and holy shit, Derrick Henry, you know, that kid, he might go into next season as the guy that we're looking at as maybe the number 1 fantasy running back.
You could be right.
Just simply because of what he's done over the last 5 or 6 games, man. Like they have. I mean, we said it before the New England game. Both of us picked New England because who would have guessed that Tennessee would go into Foxborough and win? But we both said Tennessee needs to run a lot with Derrick Henry. And what do? They ran a lot with Derrick Henry. So I would expect here's what I would say. The game plan against Kansas City, I think, is going to be a little bit different. He's going to get his touches. I just don't think it's going to be like 30 carries.
Right.
I think what they're going to try and do is they know that they're going to have to change up the way they do things just a little bit to get him the ball maybe out in space, maybe screen passes here or there, maybe just go away from the classic stretch or slam runs and maybe do a couple of counters here or there. You know, they're going to have to get into more of a misdirection thing, because here's part of the problem. At some points, the defense knows exactly where the run's going, and he's still getting 4 or 5 yards.
Right.
That's not good. That's good, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to sustain that. So they should be game planning a little bit more on what they can do to allow him to, have more space to run, but also give Tannehill the opportunities that he needs, because Tannehill's going to have to win them this game this week.
I think so, too.
You can't just rely on Derrick Henry this week. You're going to have to go back and forth with Patrick Mahomes on the road. Tannehill's going to have to be involved, and he's going to earn his money this week, because there's a lot of people talking that this guy might get paid. Like, we're not even talking just quarterback paid. If he takes him to the Super Bowl, they're talking top 10 QB money for Ryan Tannehill. So we'll see. But man, oh man, what a story Tennessee has been.
I think what you call is a free agent too. Derrick Henry.
Is he?
Mistaken.
Yeah, he might be.
I think he's a free agent going into
They better bring his ass back.
So it's gonna almost be a pick your poison. Like, do you pay Henry or do you pay You see, Steven, where do you think Brady ends up next year?
I still say New England. I have a hard time believing. I've read the reports. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. I have a really hard time believing that the Patriots are going to let him walk. I think if he doesn't retire, I genuinely believe that the Patriots will draft a quarterback very early this year, which they never do. They draft one, but they just never draft them super early.
Right.
They might be in the conversation for a guy like Herbert or maybe a guy like Tua or somebody like that, because I think you bring back Tom, but it all depends. I think Tom might. Here's the thing with Tom Brady. He has that weird trainer that, remember I told you he has this trainer that's like pseudoscience guy, and he like believes that like he believes that like if you get enough sun you don't have to drink water or something like that. Like it's something stupid like that. So the Patriots hate him. I think his name is like Alex Guerrero. They hate him, and apparently he's like Tom Brady's best friend. And he's the one who hooked him up with Edelman and Gronk and this and this and that. And apparently the Patriots hate him so much that that may be the only reason why they're letting him go, is because they don't want to have to deal with Alex Guerrero's bullshit again. Which, remember, he got scolded. Oh, that's nasty. As Sadiq Youssef, Andre Touchy-Feely.
Tap, bro. I think he tapped. He didn't tap.
Beautiful defense. And by the way, Sadiq Youssef. Super Sadiq versus Andre Touchy-Feely is what we're watching.
That hurt my arm.
Yeah, it was an arm crank, Kimura, and now Philly is trying to go for an armbar, and Sadiq slams him. So yeah, Brady. I think a lot of that has to do with the Guerrero guy. If Brady distances himself from this Guerrero guy, because remember they specifically asked Guerrero to stop coming into the locker room and stop showing up on game days and stop showing up, in practice days. So that has a lot to do with this. But you never know, man. Brady is, we mentioned the Colts. Yep. We mentioned, there's other teams that would certainly love to. He's a California kid, remember.
Yes,
he may go back to L.A. because the Chargers are in L.A. now.
Which you now echo what Christian just said. He thinks Tom Brady's going to go to L.A. and play for the Chargers.
Yeah, Christian. I think you and I are right on. Philip. Wouldn't this be funny if Philip Rivers signed with the Patriots and Tom Brady signed with the Chargers?
I'm gonna throw a curveball on that Philip Rivers.
Okay.
There is a report that supposedly he moved his family from L.A. to Florida.
Oh.
So I wonder if any of them three Florida teams. Miami could be one. I don't know so much about Miami because they have Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I think they're either going to draft Tua and let Fitz come back and then figure out what they're going to do with Josh Rosen, who I feel like is like the most thrown away quarterback right now. But I think some of that is his fault and some of it's not. But then I look at Jacksonville. Do you cut ties with Nick Foles? Do you bring him back? Is Gardner Minshew the guy? And then there's Tampa Bay because, are you going to pay Jameis $30 million a year? Do you bring in a veteran guy and then you you draft a Herbert or two if he miraculously slips to 14 and let him sit until he gets healthy and then bring him in? So I think that means something. Maybe he just moves them to Florida so they can enjoy tax-free money.
Sure, I was going to say, there's a lot of reasons to move to Florida now. So
yeah, Steven says maybe the Oakland Raiders. Yeah, Christian is saying the same thing. He thinks Rivers to the Bucs for a 2-year deal. Again, I don't know what the Bucs are going to do with Jameis. There's some reports saying that they're in agreement to a 3-year, $72 million deal. I haven't seen anything official. I've seen it like in the groups. That's it's
not a bad deal for either of them, to be quite honest.
It's not. But at the same time, and I've said it before, I think somehow Bruce Arians needs to challenge Jameis. Yeah. He does. Because here's the thing about Jameis. Mm-hmm. Jameis keeps saying, and his most famous quote after the Atlanta game was, if I limit my mistakes, I'm balling.
Right.
Guess what? He's not lying.
Yeah.
You can't scoff at the fact this man threw for 5,000 yards. You can't scoff at the fact this man threw for over 30 touchdowns. But you can't scoff at the 30 interceptions and the fumbles that came with it. So if he cuts down the interceptions and maybe 4 or 5 less fumbles, Bucs are in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Because think about it. With everything that's going on with Carolina, Luke Kuechly retired.
Yeah.
We got to bring that up.
I didn't even realize he was only
28.
I thought he was at least 30-something, but he's 28.
But I swear them concussions was creeping up on him. Man.
Remember, he was wearing, we talked about it in another show, he was wearing this device around his neck that essentially what it did was it made the fluid in his brain thicker so that when he does rattle his brain around, he has less of a concussion. It's a very controversial thing. Not a lot of people like it because they say that it's short-sighted. They don't know what it does to your body quite yet. But he was wearing this fucking thing around his neck that literally affected the way his brain worked just to try and stay awake during a game and not get, because remember, a lot of his concussions weren't on big boom on plays. His concussions a lot of time were on just run-of-the-mill plays where he's running into the hole and getting blocked. So I kind of feel bad for him, but at the same time, he left the door cracked open about this much just to say maybe he'll come back. But I don't see that happening, especially with a guy who's that conscious about his brain.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't come back. Maybe in a coaching role. We'll see.
Christian says, do you think Tua Tagovailoa falls in the second round? And if he does, do you see either the Bears, Bucks, or even the Patriots taking him? New England, yes. The Bears, no.
Nah.
The Bucks, maybe.
I personally don't. There's a lot of rumors that there will only be one quarterback taken in the first round. I don't necessarily believe that. We say that almost every year, and then somehow there's always 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round.
Because last year was what, 2?
Last year was
Jones
2
and Haskins.
The previous year it was supposed to be Baker Mayfield wasn't even supposed to go in the first round at first.
Facts.
It was supposed to be like, hey, he'll be in the second. A lot of the other guys. And even like to a certain extent, Mitch Trubisky wasn't supposed to be up there either. So yeah, no. At the same time, I get that there's a heavy need for quarterbacks. Sometime I don't see the Bears doing it. Maybe the Patriots. Tua, man, the jury's still out on Tua. He hasn't proven enough to me that he is a guaranteed yes going to be a good quarterback yet, because he played for Alabama, dude. Like, it's hard to evaluate quarterbacks from Alabama. Like, you don't get a lot of opportunities to really let the ball fly. Like he did, because remember, he came in for Hurts because Jalen Hurts sucked during that national championship.
Horrible.
And all Tua did was come in and throw lollipop throws that ended up being 40 or 50-yard touchdowns. So yeah, no, Tua, he's an interesting one. Let's revisit this conversation after the Super Bowl, because we're definitely big draft guys, so we'll start talking draft right after the Super Bowl. That's probably a better time to talk about that. We'll start to know what the combine schedule is looking like.
And Christian, let me say this, because while you mentioned the Alabama comparison, Alabama's wide receiver core was probably one of the best we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
That's why I said Tampa Bay is a big maybe.
Right.
Because if Tua can do that in Alabama with that core,
yeah,
could you imagine what he could do
Mike
with
Evans
Godwin, Edwin, and whoever's in the slot? If it is Perriman, if it is Scotty Miller, if it is O.J. Howard that's there. So if you bring in, and I'm just throwing this out there, this just in case, because now, like, the fan in me, we all know that I love Jameis Winston. Helen Keller can tell you that. So the fan in me would say for him to stay. But the analyst in me still thinks that there's an outside chance that somehow Arians may or may not move from him. So if he does, do you entice a Phillip Rivers at the back end of his career to sign a 2-year team-friendly deal? You draft Tua. You let Tua not only develop, but you let him get healthy. And then the next thing you know, did the Bucs get their Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson or everybody else?
Hips are a big deal for quarterbacks.
They really are.
Big deal for quarterbacks. And this isn't exactly okay, we know his timetable, it'll be this. It's like, no, he's going to have to go through rehab, and we're going to have to figure it out as we go along. And hips are a bitch when it comes to rehab, too. So, and we know how important it is for a quarterback to have hip flexibility.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying some team that's going to take Tua is going to have to let him sit.
Yeah.
And
he's not going to be a starter next year no matter where he gets drafted.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. But will a team with either an established quarterback position or patience or the combination of the two take a page on Tua and let him sit and get healthy, and then when he's ready to come out there, he'll be ready? Because I've heard the story on Tua and the upbringing that he had, and I mean, for what it's worth, it may not have been a tough, but it seemed kind of rough.
Sure.
He's a very disciplined kid.
He is.
And here's a kid that doesn't
like
throwing.
His parents beat his ass because of
especially his dad.
Yeah, his dad, yeah.
So, like what was the one story where he threw like 5 touchdowns and
he made him work out after the game or something
right,
like that?
He threw 5 touchdowns, won a state championship, and his dad was still pissed over the one interception.
Yeah.
So now you're going to bring that kind of discipline to a team. Like, he ain't out there trying to mess anything up. So I don't know. Tua is a very interesting situation. We all know that Joe Burrow, after the game that he had on Monday,
He'll be the number one pick.
It's going to be the number one pick.
But they're now saying maybe they will retain Dalton, because remember the thought process is he's got 1 year left on his deal and it's all cap. There's no team cap hit, so you would basically gain all that money back.
Right.
But what they're saying is maybe they just keep Dalton for a year and let Burrow sit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's going to make a big difference because, like I said, Joe Burrow is 24 years old. Like, he's older than Lamar Jackson.
Right.
So this is a kid who's been around. I don't think you necessarily have to. I don't even think you have the luxury to let him wait. If you're Cincinnati, just bring him in. He's the number one pick, and throw him out there and see how you do. Because let's be honest, you're not going to be that great next year either way. It's not like Dalton's going to get you wins. And by the way, AJ Green's a free agent. They don't know what's going to happen with that.
Right.
So. Cincinnati.
You're going to bring back a healthy John Ross, and then you still got, what's his name in the backfield?
You still got Joe Mixon, but remember, Joe Mixon is a free agent after this year. Yep. So, the Cincinnati dude has a lot of question marks ahead of their future, but one question mark that is in there is they're definitely going Joe Burrow.
Yeah, they're definitely going Joe Burrow. I'm with you on that.
Man, this Sadiq Yusuf Andre Philly fight is a fucking slaughter fest. Like, they are going after each other. Oh. Sadiq Yusuf is a beast, and this kid Andre Touchy Philly is fucking. Oh my god, he is staying in the pocket. It's like a phone booth fight right now, and I think it's on ESPN Plus. But if you're like us, you're using another source for this type of thing. But yeah, sorry. So we don't want to stray too far from football, guys.
Yeah. So that's a few questions, and like Max said, we'll get into more draft once the season's over because then we'll have a better idea of who's coming out. What our position ranks are, what teams are going to do.
I still got to do some research, too. I still got to do some research.
Oh, yeah. But the quarterbacks are the big, the big
those
talk
are set.
of everything because, we got a good class coming out. Burrow, Herbert, Tua when healthy.
Even Hurts. Even Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts, the kid from Washington. So, there's some good quarterbacks coming out. I think, and that's another question. Of these top 15 picks, which teams are going to look for quarterbacks and which teams think that, there's better position players? Like, what's the big kid Wirtz out of Iowa, the big offensive tackle? Especially with my team in Tampa, I would love for Wirtz to be there at 14, and then you draft him to be on the left side and move Donovan to the right side so you can get rid of DeMar Dotson. I think that's a solid move, to protect whoever's throwing the ball for Tampa Bay and create some lanes so that they can actually run the ball next year.
Yeah.
So, there's many questions and holes. And for what it's worth, what do the Bears do? Like, me personally, I still don't think you give up on what's his name? On Mitchell Trubisky.
No, you don't have a choice.
I'm just so against, giving up on a quarterback that's under the age of 26 that still has some kind of
It's hard
upside.
to play quarterback in the league. There's not a lot of good.
I don't know if you heard the interview, but even Kyle Long was on the defensive of Mitchell Trubisky.
Yep.
And he said, and I quote, "There's nobody around him other than Allen Robinson that's a playmaker to help him out."
Yeah.
And where's the lie?
And the offensive line was terrible, too.
And they were awful. So, think about it. If you know that your best wide receiver is only flipping Allen Robinson.
Who's amazing, but he's the only receiver we have.
He's the only guy that you got. At the end of the day, you can plan easily. If they can't run the ball with David Montgomery, and we know that we can guard Allen Robinson, let's make them beat us by throwing the ball to Taylor Gabriel and Anthony Miller.
Yeah.
And that's why you're 7-9 and Mitchell can't grow. It's not so much that Mitchell sucks.
No.
Because at the same time, when you were collaborating for Chase Daniel, how did that movie go?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And let's not forget that, nobody wants to forget about the fact that Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were available, but also no one wants to take into account that neither one of those quarterbacks are perfect themselves. We thought Patrick Mahomes was Jesus before this year, remember?
Facts.
We're like, okay, this guy's Jesus. Like, he's the guy. But then after week 4, week 5, you start to see, there's cracks in his game too. And he's going to have to come back and improve and get better. And to his credit, he did. Deshaun Watson, not so much. Deshaun Watson, you still had the same beef with the guy guy. He holds on to the ball too long. He takes way too much advantage of his athletic ability. And at the end of the day, he has his flaws. So, if you're a Bears fan, dude, first of all, I don't expect them to draft a quarterback next year just simply because it doesn't really make sense.
Right.
Like, you want to bring a quarterback who's got a veteran presence. That's why I say Dalton makes sense. There's people talking about Alex Smith because he has a lot of connections to this coaching staff. We don't know if he can even run correctly.
Right.
So there's a lot of question marks, but I think more than likely you'll see a veteran quarterback come in and maybe even try and, it depends on what type of veteran quarterback. If we're talking like Tyrod Taylor or if we're talking Phillip Rivers, right? Like Phillip Rivers is a guy you're like, okay, Mitch, you got to beat this guy now. Beat him in training camp to try and be our quarterback. Whereas a Tyrod Taylor is like, okay, we've got this guy if we need him. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But if you're a Bears fan, don't have your hopes too high for this draft. It's 2 second-round picks. Let's hope for a tight end and maybe an offensive lineman there. But otherwise, I wouldn't expect too much sexiness from the draft this year. Sadiq Yusuf did take that one in a decision. This kid's a beast. He's a Nigerian kid. He's I think out of the same camp as Kamaru Usman. I might be wrong about that. They're both Nigerian, but I don't know if they're at the same camp. But he's a beast, Sadiq Yusuf.
Steven asked, does Joe Burrow fit the scheme they play with? I'm assuming with Cincinnati.
I don't know.
You're just gonna just make the adjustment with it. You know what I'm saying? Joe Burrow pretty much proved that he is the man threw for 60 touchdowns in the college season. Do you know how borderline impossible that is to do? Yeah. I asked a question in a sports group that we saw that Joe Burrow had a wonderful year. Over 5,300 yards passing, 60 touchdowns.
Great year. Record-setting.
Is that the best college football season we've seen by a quarterback? Or is there someone else? Because my favorite...
Tebow, maybe?
There's the Tebow years.
Where he
there's Jameis's
rushed
freshman year.
Yeah.
And then my favorite...
Vince Young had a
bingo.
Really... Yeah, Vince Young.
Bingo. Vince Young, first of all, this one dude tried to tell me, well, Vince Young didn't have that great of he didn't have the greatest bowl performance. Yes, he did.
That game against
Young
USC?
went for 200. First of all, he was the first player or quarterback ever to throw and rush for 200 yards.
Yep.
Now, as the years went on, Johnny Manziel copied it, but he was the first to do it. Against the powerhouse USC Trojans that Texas had no shot of beating, by the way.
Yeah.
This man put this team on his back and rode it, and then that team rode it from day one when he said we'll be back to the Rose Bowl to week 16, technically, when they won the national championship. Yeah. If you're going to tell me that Rose Bowl wasn't one of, if not the greatest performance in football, then you're nuts.
And people forget how good that USC team was. Man. There was like 25 NFL players on that team.
Lindell White, Reggie Bush, Mike Williams.
Yeah, and there was the defensive side of the ball too, had like 10 eventual NFL starters. So, yeah, Vince Young is certainly up there. But here's what I would say to that question. Doesn't matter anymore if the quarterback fits your system. Look at Baltimore, guys. Baltimore's a perfect example of this.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson didn't fit what they did. They made what they did fit Lamar Jackson.
There you go.
And that's what the mentality has to be from now on. Who cares if the guy has the same scheme as you? It doesn't matter. He's the best player available, and we're going to bring him in here. And by the way, we're going to cater our offense to him. We don't need him to do anything for us. So that's the mentality you should be having as a team. And Cincinnati is very lucky to have Joe Burrow because there's not a lot of let's be honest. I'm not going to sit here and crown Joe Burrow as the next best thing. Let's wait and see. But at the same time, I'm also not ready to say that if a team finds their guy, they should always get them. I said the same thing about the Giants with Daniel Jones. There's a lot of mess made about the way that they drafted him and, they took him with the first pick. They could have taken him with the second pick in the first round. But they got their guy, and I don't care how you get your guy. You just get him and you bring him in and you see what you can do with him. And clearly they like Joe Burrow. And even if, let's just say, because there are a lot of people saying, well, what if he had a bad national championship game? how bad would it have to be for him to drop out of the number one spot?
Right.
It would have had to have been like 5 interception, 6 turnovers, something like that. Because otherwise, you're not looking at anything too substantial to make you think, oh, Joe Burrow's not the guy we think he is. So we're watching all the highlights for Cowboy Cerrone back in the WEC game days, and this guy he's very well experienced. So I can't wait to talk about that. Let's get our game predictions in, Nick.
Right. So real quick, Niners beat Minnesota. Green Bay goes out and they beat Seattle. Seattle made a little comeback at the end, but
that was a close one.
The controversial call whether if he got the first down, but the unofficial yellow mark wasn't even close to where
Don't pay attention to that yellow marker anymore, guys. Like, stop. The yellow marker is a graphic that is put on through the TV. It's not perfect.
Right. So now, because I said last week, if it came to the NFC, because San Francisco won by the time I was still doing the show.
Yeah.
I said, either way you look at it, the NFL, the NFC side is about to win here because if it's Seattle versus San Francisco, it's Seattle versus San Francisco part trace. Seattle beat them the first time. San Francisco beat them by an inch the second time. How do you finish this off the third time? But instead, you get San Francisco versus Green Bay, which is still fine because with this being the 100th year of the NFL,
that would make a lot of sense.
In the 90s and 2000s, it was either San Francisco, Dallas, or Green Bay.
Yeah.
There was always that trio somehow. So it was either Green Bay versus the Niners versus Dallas, or Dallas versus Green Bay. One of those teams was representing the NFC.
And remember, the first ever Super Bowl was the Chiefs and the Packers.
And that's where we go to our predictions.
Yeah.
Because I've now said this a few times, but these are both revenge games. The Titans beat Kansas City early in the year.
That's right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
San Francisco beat the brakes off of Green Bay early in the year.
Yeah, they did. And that game was ugly, too.
It was really ugly. This is where I think the Titans and the Niners might fall flat. In the Titans case against Kansas City, everyone keeps talking about, Andy Reid doesn't win the big game. There's way too much speed on this team for this Titans defense.
Yeah.
Now, and then on top of that, Kansas City got film on Tennessee on what they did wrong to get their ass whooped.
Right.
And now they're like, okay, we're gonna make the adjustments. And trust me, and I feel like Mahomes is kind of destined this year for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I like the Chiefs on that side. And then on the Niners side, it's the same thing. The Niners beat the brakes off of Green Bay. But I don't think Green Bay was ready for the break beating that they got.
Right.
They ready this time.
Yep.
And nothing against San Francisco. And Kyle Shanahan's done a great job with this team. But if you was to ask me which quarterback do I trust the most between Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Garoppolo, this ain't even up for discussion. It's number 12.
Right.
The key for Green Bay, and they did this a little bit in the game against San Francisco, but they fell too far behind and got away from it. Healthy doses of Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
You got to get the run game going. You get that run game going and make them guess, then it's over with. Because I like Quan Alexander, but this man's coming off a torn pectoral muscle, trying to be J.J. Watt, and he already struggles in tackling. So if you get into the second level against Quan with Aaron Jones, it's going to make for a long day. This could either be, again, the parallel of the NFL 100. The first Super Bowl is Chiefs, Packers. The 100th Super Bowl, it's going to be Chiefs, Packers.
Okay.
The 100th State Farm represented Super Bowl.
I was going to say State Farm's going to love that.
Aaron Rodgers versus Pat Mahomes.
Just imagine the commercials.
Pat, my homie Mahomes.
Okay, all right. Yeah, what I would say about the Tennessee and Kansas City game, people that are saying, well, Tennessee did it against Baltimore, and the Baltimore was the best offense in the league. Well, let's be honest. Baltimore got exposed for their lack of playmakers.
Facts.
They only had Mark Ingram and basically their tight ends. That's basically all they have. Marquise Brown, he had an amazing fantasy year for like 3 or 4 weeks of the season. He's not an NFL-ready guy. He's not a number one guy. They really, really need that number one guy. They might be interesting for the A.J. Green conversation. We might be talking about them in free agency. But basically right now, Tennessee, I just don't think has enough to guard Mahomes, obviously, and everything he can do. But then you got Tyreek Hill, Hardman, you got Travis Kelce. Damian Williams has had a nice return because everyone thought when he got injured, that's it, his job is done. And they really do value this guy as a number one running back. So I have Kansas City winning, but I have a slightly different mentality when it comes to the NFC Championship. I think right now the Packers, they have had a little bit more adversity coming into this game than San Francisco has, but San Francisco has had their fair share of adversity. Remember, the last 5 weeks of the season, they weren't that great, and they lost a couple games that they shouldn't have lost, including one to Seattle. And what you end up coming on the other end with is that San Francisco is a tried and tested team at this point. I just really think right now, like you said, the trust factor is in Aaron Rodgers over Garoppolo because Aaron Rodgers has been there before, but I really like the San Francisco defense. We talked about it even before the season started. This is a stacked defense.
It really is.
5 or 6 really good defensive linemen, 3 or 4 really good linebackers. Sherman is amazing this year, and shout out to Richard Sherman. People were talking shit about him when he left Seattle, talking shit about the deal he took with San Francisco, that he represented himself. He didn't have an agent, and everyone in the media was saying, look at how pompous NFL players are. They think they can represent themselves, and he bet on himself, and oh man, he's going to lose. Take a look at how he's doing right now. He's got like 4 or 5 different bonuses from being a Pro Bowler. He's making some really nice money. So I will just say my prediction is that the AFC Championship game is a lot more lopsided than the NFC Championship game. I think it comes down to the wire. I think San Francisco being at home has a lot. There's a lot of juice behind that, and we talked about even with the Houston game when Houston was playing Buffalo, and Buffalo was ahead, but you kept seeing little streaks by Houston. It's because you're at home, and it's easier to play at home in the playoffs. So, I'm going to go ahead and take San Francisco, but there was a big conspiracy thread on Reddit this year that the league has been trying to make Kansas City versus Green Bay since week 1, and that they've been executing little things here and there to make sure that both of these teams stay in it. Listen, dude, I love conspiracies. I'm as open-minded as you're probably going to get when it comes to conspiracies. That just doesn't make sense to me. It's very, very hard for them to make something that specific happen, but I'm sure the NFL is ecstatic about the idea that they could have that, but I just don't think they're fixing games for that. I'm going to take San Francisco. I think it's going to be an exciting Super Bowl either way because I think Kansas City's going to be in it, and I think Kansas City versus Green Bay or Kansas City versus San Francisco, I think that's going to be an amazing Super Bowl.
Did you, before we get to the UFC,
we
go to the end of the show, by the way, thank you for everyone that watched.
Yes, thank you guys.
This is probably one of the best shows that we've put out. We came out guns blazing.
Yes, we did.
If you missed this show, trust me, I will repost this bad boy.
Yeah, we're going to be more active on the
minute it is available because I want the entire freelance world to see.
Yeah.
I'm going everywhere. Instagram, Twitter. I mean, everyone knows my Facebook. Wherever, we going to find out. We going to figure it out.
Yep.
But did you hear the final press conference for Marshawn Lynch?
Yeah, take care of your chickens. Yeah. Love that guy.
Dude, so my boy Ricky hits me up. I'm door dashing last night, and he's like, can you decipher this for me? And so I'm watching
if you're not around black people or not around the hood slang, you would think, what the fuck is this guy talking about right now?
He was like, look, man, like if you've been on the other side of retirement, you gotta take care of your bread, you gotta take care of your mental, you gotta take care of your chicken. And I was like, bro, why would you put bread and chicken in the same thing?
Exactly, right. That was the most confusing thing is that it made it food. Like, all right, chicken food and bread food. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, nah, man, because chicken and bread both in slang mean money.
Exactly, yeah.
And I was like, dude.
But I think here's another thing that I will say is I think the reason why he broke that up was to say, take care of the way you handle your finances. Yeah, take care of your bread,
right,
but also take care of where they handle your finances.
Right.
Don't just say, all right, I got millions of dollars. Fuck it, let's run out and do whatever. Because people forget, Marshawn Lynch is one of the most fiscally responsible players of all time. If you are, let's just say, maybe a little racist, maybe a little whatever, you would look at him and say, there's no way this guy saves money. There's no way. He's probably spending on Skittles and 40s and this and this and that. This guy, I think he said something like he's never spent a game check in his life. I think something along the lines of he basically, all the money he spent has been off of advertising and other money.
Right.
So this guy is if you didn't catch that speech and you were I need to hear my person talk like this, then you wouldn't have gotten anything out of that speech. But if you listen to it really deeply, it was one of the most profound speeches, and players need to listen to what he's saying, because in a way, I think what he's saying is, I understand that my mental isn't where I want it to be right now, and you guys need to watch your mental. And I think that was the most significant part about it, because, the NFL is doing a better job now of making sure players understand what financial management is, which is good.
That's true.
But I think the most important part that you'll take out of that is just take care of y'all mentals. Like, take care of the way that because what he was essentially trying to say is, because Marshawn's a little misunderstood. They think that he only came back because it was a money thing. Like, no, this guy wanted to play football. He was just too smart to realize that it's not worth it. It wasn't worth it anymore, that he was giving up his brain and his health over money. And this, again, these are people who don't know this guy's financial situation. So I love that speech. And I would have needed a translator too for it, but that was an amazing speech by him.
That's right.
Roxanne Modafferi and Macy Barber, very exciting fight, women's fight.
Macy Barber's kind of cute too.
She is, and she's up and coming. She's really hot in the game. Roxanne Modafferi is a veteran in the game, and Macy Barber is a new up and comer. And Macy Barber was trying to play this bad game, because Roxanne Modafferi basically told her, hey, if you're cutting weight and you do bathtub cutting, don't do your weight cut at the hotel, because our hotel doesn't have bathtubs. So Macy Barber, instead of being like, oh, that was really nice of her, she posted on Facebook like, yeah, she's nice, but I'm gonna still knock her face. And so I'm kind of rooting for Modafferi in this fight, to be quite honest, even though I think Macy Barber is an amazing young prospect. But that's a nice transition into MMA, because Nick, I've got to head out of here in a little bit. So let's get right into this UFC card.
Yes, sir.
So, obviously the big one that we should start with, and I'll go through the whole card with you, so that we can give our picks on the big ones, because there's a couple big ones. There's a couple ones that have already happened that were really nice matchups, but Conor and Cowboy. First of all, Conor nuthuggers have been so annoying.
Oh my God!
On social media.
Irish cloverleaf McGregor, the best in the game to ever do it.
That's where I draw the line.
Man.
Dude, you can have your opinion. You can think whatever you want of this dude. If you think this guy's the greatest fighter of all time, just take a seat.
Please.
He's not the greatest fighter of all time.
No, it's not even close.
If you want to talk about promotion and this and this and that and money making, go ahead, talk about that. But if we're talking about fighting, dude, this guy, we're talking about a guy, first of all, who hasn't fought in since the Khabib fight. Before that, didn't fight for almost 2 years. And by the way, he's coming off of a couple losses, including that Khabib fight, and also Cowboy's coming in with a couple losses. Well, people were disrespecting Cowboy, saying, "Oh, that was an easy fight for McGregor to make. He's gonna walk right through." I'm gonna come out and say it right now. Here's the way I make my picks in fighting. Mm-hmm. Who has more tools to win this fight?
Right.
Like, when you're looking at John Jones and DC, you're like, okay, John Jones and DC, both very good strikers, but DC's got the wrestling, but you know what? John's really good at jiu-jitsu. He's got a good grappler, longer limbs. So, you're kind of using that math to see who's got more. When you do that in this fight, it's very obvious that Cowboy has more tools. He's the better grappler. He's the better guy on the ground. More tested guy, clearly a guy who can both knock you out but also submit you. Let's just put it to you this way. I asked my friend this because he's a big Conor nut-hugger. I said, can you see Conor winning this by submission? Probably not. I can see Cowboy winning this in submission. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Can you see Conor out-grappling Cowboy. Probably not. No. Well, I can see Cowboy out grappling Conor. So when you start to break things down, it all comes down to the left hand of McGregor, right?
Right.
So everyone says, well, that left hand is just so, if he gets that on you, it's over. Let me just tell you something, man. Conor is at 170 right now. He's used to fighting at 145. It's amazing to see what he looks like at 145. He looks sick. He looks like he's about to die on death's door. And the reason why he's knocked out so many guys is because he's been at 140. When he moves up, he took this fight on purpose at 170, and both of them are naturally weighing 170. So I see Cowboy as, honestly, I'm just going to come out and say it because why not? I see Cowboy winning this fight. The reason why I see Cowboy winning this fight is because I likely don't. The only way I see Conor winning this fight is if it's a first-round knockout. I have a very good feeling that Cowboy is not going to participate much in the first round. He's going to be doing a lot of feeling you out. He's not going to be phone booth fighting with you in the first round. That's what Conor needs.
Right.
And Cowboy's just going to kind of stay at kicking distance, stay at grappling distance, but never too close to where the left hand is there. If this fight goes longer than 2 rounds, Conor's done. Conor does not have it in him, and Cowboy does. So, again, more tools in my mind. And to me, dude, Conor has to prove it to me before I'm ready to give it to him again.
Right.
You know, he has to prove to me. It shouldn't be hard for him because, honestly, Cerrone's chin is not that great. But, man, he's going to have to prove it to me before I just give it to him willy-nilly. So, I'm taking Cowboy in this fight. I really like Cowboy. I'm going to say Cowboy by 3rd round submission. Let's go with a choke. Let's go a rear naked choke. Cowboy in the 3rd round. I'll take that.
Fair enough, dude. I mean, I'm taking Cowboy too, only for selfish reasons because
we hate Conor.
I just want to see everybody all up in arms when Conor get that ass whooped. That's all I want to see.
I was really disappointed with media this week, Nick, because with media, you need to see balance and you need to see the unbiased version. And all I saw throughout all MMA media is everyone sucking Conor's dick.
Yeah.
Ariel Helwani, listen, I like Ariel Helwani. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's one of the best.
I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah, I like him. He's a great journalist. But what he's done the last couple of interviews, especially the one with he did one with Conor directly after Conor punched the old guy in the face.
Okay.
And it was just a lollipop after lollipop of excuses and you're a changed man, aren't you? And this and this. And he did the same thing this time around, where he went into the interview saying, "I've never seen Conor so humble and he's so zen-like." And the whole interview is basically Ariel finishing Conor's sentences, like as if to say, like, "Yeah, you think you're gonna win this fight by knockout, right?" And all Conor says, "Yes." Like to me, man. The conversation that we're having about Conor being, oh, he's the best guy on the mic. This guy, Modafferi, oh my God, people talking about his abilities on the mic. Honestly, dude, he wasn't that great on the mic, and a lot of it was Ariel Helwani just kind of sucking his dick. So I was really disappointed. I thought Ariel he isn't in good favor with Dana White. Ariel is, so he tends to try and stick to fighters. He did this with the Diaz brothers. He did this with Conor, but I was disappointed in them. There was no unbiased journalism when it came to Conor this week.
And I listened to an interview they did with Ariel Helwani on Wingo and Golic on Friday morning, I think it was, and it was the same thing where he went on there and he was like, "Oh, Conor changed his life because he looked at the video of him punching that old guy in the Irish bar and he felt so bad."
What about the other video of him throwing the dolly into the fucking bus? Like,
yeah, exactly. And then then that came up, like if Conor ends up winning, does Khabib
happen
versus Conor happen? And Ariel was like, yeah, maybe, but at the same time, Ramadan starts soon, and because Khabib is a very devout Muslim, he's like, he's not gonna try and fight him while he's doing Ramadan. He's like, that'd be
interesting though.
October, November.
I was gonna say that would be interesting because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ramadan's in the middle of the year this year, and we still have to wait until April for him to fight Tony Ferguson. Right. And I think I said this on the last time we discussed this. Let's say Tony wins that fight. You have to give Khabib a rematch. So that's not going to happen. And even if Khabib wins that fight, you can't just keep trying to make Conor work. Like, Conor has to show us something, you know? I like what Khabib said. Like, Khabib said, I want to see him fight 10 times before he fights me. You know, that's just kind of like his personality. Right. But I understand what he's saying. I want to see him be a threat to me before I give him a fight. And quite frankly, not a lot of people are taking this fight seriously with Cowboy. People are basically saying that Conor has this thought in his mind. He's going to win the first round this tonight. He's going to basically have no damage, and then he's going to fight Masvidal in April. So Masvidal and Cowboy will fight in April, and also Khabib and Tony will fight in April.
Okay.
What they're saying is Conor wants to fight 4 times this year. He chose the easiest fighter he could for this fight to try and knock him out in the first round, come out and basically have a quick turnaround, fight in the same month as Khabib and Tony, and then if he's winning against Masvidal, which I don't see him winning against Masvidal, but if he wins against Masvidal, then he would be basically saying, "Okay, Khabib, we both just got off fights. Let's talk about the rematch." So Conor, I will say this. Conor said he stopped drinking for this camp. Okay. Conor also said he was better on social media, wasn't obsessed with social media, wasn't obsessed with partying this camp. You know, these are all excuses to me, Nick. You know, if you're going to sit here and tell me, well, I didn't win against Khabib because I was out partying, then don't fucking go party.
Exactly.
You know, like at least John Jones, when he was saying that, he won those fights. Like the Alexander Gustafsson fight, he said he was doing coke like 2 or 3 days before the first fight. Yeah, which was an amazing fight, by the way. But he said he did so much coke the couple days before that when he was walking out to the arena, he said, I can't believe I'm about to lose my belt today. And he didn't. But again, he's allowed to use that because he didn't lose. He's not saying I lost because of my coke habit. He's saying, dude, I won, and by the way, I was doing a ton of coke before then. So, I just have zero trust in Conor to be the guy.
Your girl
dude,
is ground.
I'm telling you, and I think she's punishing her specifically because of that tweet I told you where she's like she was on Ariel Helwani's podcast herself, which if you're an MMA fan, I don't want to be too hard on Ariel Helwani because he does have one of the best podcasts that I religiously listen to, the MMA Hour podcast every Monday. It's like 3 or 4 hours of MMA interviews and just a preview of the week. He does a tremendous job, but a lot of the media this week was sucking Conor's dick, and I'm just not appreciative of that. I want them to be real, especially like ESPN. You know, ESPN, like, the worst thing that happened is ESPN wasn't ready for MMA because Scott Van Pelt doesn't know MMA.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys don't know MMA. So what happens is they brought in Ariel Helwani to be the guy to, like, basically translate for them. And when Ariel Helwani's sucking Conor's dick, he's giving the wrong impression to these people. And again, it was a big puff piece about Scott Van Pelt was saying, wow, I couldn't believe to hear that he's not drinking. He owns whiskey. It's like, yeah, that's why it's so stupid to talk about him not drinking. Because it's like, dude, first of all, you shouldn't have not been drinking in the fucking first place. Right. You know, so like what you want to pat on the back for not partying during your training camp? And he was also saying to Ariel Helwani, yeah, I don't know what just happened there, but she told the cut guy not to touch her. It's like, he's trying to fix your cut, lady.
Genius.
So yeah, what happened was, I mean, during the week, Conor was just getting too much love from these news outlets, and nobody was calling it like it was. I think she hurt her knee there. She's grabbing her knee, and Modafferi jumps right on top of her. And Modafferi's definitely winning this fight, but yeah. So I'm gonna take Cowboy, and you like Cowboy as well, right?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
What do you got? You got it.
And on top of that, let me say this too, because I agree with you 100%. It's like almost everyone forgot that Cowboy's in this fight.
Right,
You know
exactly.
What I'm saying?
Yeah,
because,
they're overlooking him hard.
Right, because this is what everyone's looking at. Conor McGregor's coming back. He's got more focus. Blah blah blah. This and that. Cowboy just got his ass whooped
twice in a row,
against Tony Ferguson most recently, where I mean Tony was going to win the fight anyway.
He was,
but Cowboy jagged by trying to breathe out of his nose, and his eye swelled up so bad that the doctor had to stop the fight.
Right.
Okay, that's what everyone's remembering. But let's stop acting like Cowboy ain't no bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Let's
not sound like he's just going to come in, just lay down for the great.
All right, yeah, I'll take because people are saying that he would be happy with losing because he'd finally get his payday. You clearly don't know Cowboy. You clearly don't know Cowboy if you're thinking that. This is a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. He wants to win this fight.
You know, speaking of paydays, I was thinking about this when I was at work today, and I want to bring this up. Did you see the report that Jorge Masvidal is really thinking about trying to box Canelo?
Yeah.
I'm all for seeing that.
Me too. I love his mentality. His mentality is fuck Kamaru Usman. I don't need the UFC belt anymore. Everyone loves me. Everyone knows I'm a fucking badass.
Right.
Give me the money. Show me the money fights. That's why he's waiting on Conor. If Conor wins tonight, I will guarantee you'll see Jorge Masvidal and Conor start to mingle in the media the next couple of days. But yeah, the funny part about it is Canelo's on board. Canelo's like, all right, I didn't realize everyone loved you this much. Fuck it, let's talk. Because remember, DAZN, they're not in the business of only boxing. They'll take whatever the fuck they can get. They'll take any. And by the way, Mayweather's team.
You can tell that knee's hurting.
Yeah, it definitely is, and that's why they checked her, and they might have to stop this fight. By the way, Mayweather and Dana White now have come to agreements that they want to promote a boxing fight. So you never know, dude. We may see there. And don't bite my head off, but this is something Ariel Helwani said. They're saying that they may try and have a fight, Conor Mayweather 2 and Canelo and Masvidal. That would be an amazing one. I might actually buy that one just by how good that would be.
I think I might too. And I'm gonna tell you what, dude. I think there's just like this respect factor because see, with Conor versus Mayweather, it was Conor being the jackass that he is, versus Mayweather knowing damn well as cocky as he is, And I think McGregor really went out there. I mean, I guess more or less for the payday. I mean, you can't argue with these guys because boxing obviously brings in more revenue per se than MMA does. But I think with Masvidal, because he's such like a down-to-earth guy, and you know, Canelo doesn't really speak that much English, but you could just tell by his demeanor and the way that he is.
It's going to be a good promotion. Yeah,
it's a great promotion. There's going to be a lot of respect. Masvidal is actually coming in there not so much to get paid, but to actually prove that he can beat Saul.
He thinks he can beat Canelo.
Exactly, and that's why I want to watch that more than I want to watch Floyd versus McGregor because Floyd ain't been in the game.
We already know what's going to happen in that fight.
You feel what I'm saying? I feel like there's a chance. I'm not saying it's a great chance, but there's a chance that Masvidal could take Saul.
Yeah.
But, man, Canelo's a monster.
He
Outside of what he did against Floyd Mayweather, which is, that's another conversation for another day.
I'd be interested to see what weight they fight that at because I don't know what Canelo is, but if they fight that at like a 170 or a 175, because, you can stretch it out in boxing if you want.
Right.
If they do it at 175, that's prime for Masvidal. He would love that. So, by the way, do you know how much Conor said he's making for this fight?
I did not.
He said $80 million.
For this one?
For this fight. I don't know if that's correct. I don't know if that's correct because he said he made 50 for Khabib. If he only made 50 for Khabib, I don't know how they're figuring 80 for this one, but apparently the doors were crazy. Obviously, he does a great job of promoting, but by the way, it's in Vegas. Not a lot of Irish fans travel. They travel well, but they don't travel at this time of the year.
Right.
So I don't know if those are estimations, but he said 80 million, and Ariel Helwani basically said some people I don't think most of the roster combined has made 80 million in their career. So if he's making that off one fight, that just goes to show how lopsided the UFC is, because let's remember the UFC for a long time got in trouble for that mentality of like who's gonna they got in trouble for the mentality of whoever's making us the most money is gonna be the best fighter, and that's how Conor got propped up. I mean, let's be honest, Conor, after the Aldo fight where he knocked out Aldo in the first minute of the fight, they realized if we jump on this and piggyback off of this, we can make this guy a superstar, and they did. Let's be honest, they did. But the Alvarez fight after that, and even to a certain extent, there was a couple of fights after that, but the Diaz fights, the Alvarez fights, they proved that clearly Conor was not invincible. But like the Alvarez fight, for example, Alvarez didn't really put up much of a fight against Conor. I don't think you're going to see that tonight. I really genuinely, for some reason, just think it's going to be a long, grueling fight, and I think Cowboy's going to win it. Let me just get your picks for the rest before we wrap up, because Holly Holm is fighting Raquel Pennington, and I got Holly Holm in that.
Oh, easily. easily.
I thought they gave her Pennington to give her an easy fight to maybe talk about a possible Valentina matchup. Because Valentina's run through the whole fucking division.
You
She has
already
nobody
know how I
left.
feel about
Yeah,
that
we
one.
love that. And then Maurice Green versus Alexei Oleinik. Oleinik is known for his really flexible submissions. And then Maurice Green is this giant of a man. So that'll be an interesting one. I got Alexei Oleinik in that one. And Anthony Pettis is fighting.
Maurice Green.
You're gonna take Maurice Green? Okay, yeah, he's a big boy, Maurice Green. And then Anthony Pettis is fighting tonight against Diego Fajeda. I'm gonna take Anthony Pettis. He looks good.
Me
and
too.
By the way, he's suing USADA. Apparently, during that fight for Nate Diaz, they wanted him to test to drug test again before the fight, about an hour before the fight, because the first one was too diluted because he'd been rehydrating. So he went to go open the cup and it cut his thumb, I guess, from here down to his wrist. And he said that was a really big hindrance on his fight against Diaz. And remember, Diaz knocked him out, and fucking, Pettis didn't put up much of a fight, which was kind of crazy because I thought Pettis was going to win that fight against Nate. So yeah, Pettis is he's gonna sue USADA, and apparently USADA isn't taking too well to it. They're like basically terrorizing him all week about it. So yeah, that must be fucking uncomfortable. You're fighting in an organization that you're going to be more than likely getting a lawsuit from. So. All right, Nick, what else you got, man? I got to unfortunately, I have a hard out today.
Well, hell, I mean,
we did 3
hours of what I consider to be
this is probably
the
one of our best shows in our
that we put out
I was
there.
going to say it's probably one of our best shows.
Today is what? The 18th?
It is the 18th.
So that means next week's the 25th, which means that we will be at Rep's Place next Saturday.
Sir! I'm excited for that one.
So that'll be our first show at Rep's Place for 2020. So definitely looking forward to that.
Always.
And I will keep my promise that I will not be broke going into the show next week, so that I can get something to eat before the show comes on. Because all that
Even if
delicious
you are,
food
I got you,
coming
brother.
in and out, and I'm like, damn, I only got like $40. I got to stretch. That's not happening this week.
I always feel bad about eating in those places anyways, because I'm like, damn, I'm going to spend $20 on this, but fuck it. Yeah.
Exactly. So that should be fun next week. So if you guys, 3200 Kershaw, if that's in Rolling Meadows,
Yes,
you want
sir.
to come out and support a couple of brothers, it's a very good time as always. Other than that, though, man, I mean, we said 9 hard out. We did 3 solid hours. It is 2:57. I will post this show the minute that it is ready. I'm putting this show out there. If you missed this show, you need to recap it. It is the most emotion that I've ever put in this show for the first hour and a half, because the Yankees are like my kids, and if you mess with my kids, I'm going to whoop that ass. And if you do not poke the bear. That's all I'm going to say.
Don't do it.
The Astros effed up, and now you will pay in 2020. That's how I'm ending this show. Thanks to Steve for producing in the back.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
Thanks to everybody that listened and shared the show. I appreciate every last one of you guys. We'll do this again next Saturday. Until then, and we'll talk Super Bowl and all that. He's Mac. I'm Black. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace, guys.
Deuces.